Hello, friends and bees, and friends who are also bees, and welcome to this week's Indie Thursday stream. This week, we're going to be continuing, obviously, with Higurashi something that Higurashi When They Cry. I don't know the full name in Japanese, because that's the sort of person I am. Continuing with Onikakushi. When we left off last time, we had begun to suspect that something was wrong. We'd found out about the murders and the disappearance, and then Reina accused us of lying to her, which is the truth. Not that we'll admit it. So this week, let's just keep going, shall we? We are going to hop straight in, and I am very glad to be playing a game that doesn't require me to use my keyboard, because my arms really hurt in general. So, sorry for the delay there, my swap to gameplay button was having issues. So let's keep going. Loading the middle of chapter 8. There are 12 chapters in this, so I'm not 100% sure if I'm going to 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I'm not 100% sure if I'm going to finish it this time around. I can't go for an extra long stream. Because I've got stuff later, so maybe that next week is like a shorter stream than usual. But let's keep going. We have just got home. I was super out of it and couldn't bring myself to do anything until dinner except stare blankly into space. Was I terrified from Reina going off on me? No, that's not right. That was someone else who only looked like Reina. Then, who could it have been? It was a dreadful feeling, knowing that that was someone else, not Reina. So tomorrow I shouldn't have a problem talking to Reina like I usually do. That thought was strangely comforting. Concluded that I should just calm down and clear my head, though those thoughts continued swirling around my mind. Finally, returned to my senses as I heard my mother calling out to me from the bottom of the steps. Keiichi! It's a call from the bookstore! Bookstore? Can't think of why they'd be calling me. I went downstairs and picked up the receiver anyway. My apologies for calling so late at night. It's me, Oishi of the Okinomiya bookshop. Oishi? Mr. Oishi? Oh, it's Mr. Oishi. Sorry, since your parents picked up, I said I was from the bookstore. Puts people off when I say I'm a police officer. Oh, Mr. Oishi was, in his own way, rather cautious. Even so, I didn't want my parents hearing me talk to the police. I brought the cordless phone with me as I dashed back up to my room on the second floor. Sorry for calling so late. That phone number on the piece of paper I gave you yesterday was the old number. My apologies. Can you copy down the number I'm about to give you? Ah, yeah, okay. Gave me the number of his direct line as I wrote it down. I thought that was the end of it, but he began making pointless small talk, and it was pretty hard to hang up. So how's it been, Mr. Maybara? Did anything strange happen recently? I see. This is the real reason. You really beat around the bush there. His adult conversational skills left me slack-jawed. Me too. Are you from around here, Mr. Oishi? Yeah, I am. Born and raised in Okinomiya. If he's from around here, he might know. Mr. Oishi, do you know what this Onikakushi thing's about? I believe that's when somebody suddenly vanishes because they've been abducted by a demon. Special saying from around here. It has the same meaning as spirited away, like everyone else says. Whereas my friends would say they didn't know when I asked. This older man gave me a direct answer. Made me a bit happy that he answered me directly without trying to hide anything. Hinamizawa was, not sure I should tell you this, Mr. Maybara. Don't try to play this off. If you're not going to talk, then I'm not going to tell you anything. Ah, no. That's not what I meant. It's just, it may make you feel bad. So does everything, it's fine. You see, long ago, Hinamizawa was feared as the village where demons reside. Demons? By demons you mean those pitchfork-carrying things in hell? More like human-eating monsters. They'd go down to villages snatching people up and gobbling them down. That kind of tale. Demons snatching up people is what this Onikakushi really means. So that the curse and being demoned away happen together. What does that mean? I already knew about the mysterious deaths happening 5 years in a row, but I didn't know there were people disappearing for those same 5 years. The curse and being demoned away happened together? First time I've heard of that. Is that how it is, Mr. Maybara? That's what I want to know. I heard Reina and Mian talking. They said that if it was really Oyashiro-sama's curse, then both the curse and demoning away would happen. Mr. Oishi began hemming and hawing on the other end of the receiver. Maybe something about that came to mind? Mr. Maybara, do you know the first incident? Murder by dismemberment? Yeah. One of the 6 perpetrators is still on the run, right? Hypothetically. What if he isn't on the run, but was demoned away? I'm pretty certain I logicked a lot of this out last week, so... Huh? It was an outrageous hypothesis from Mr. Oishi. Incident 4 years ago was a particularly ghastly one. Police already knew the perpetrators, so they posted tons of wanted posters with his face on them, staked out various locations and investigated every possible escape route he had, but after 4 years there wasn't even a hint of where he might be, unless the police were completely incompetent. Even if it was an outrageous hypothesis, I couldn't simply laugh it off. Then what about the incident the next year, when the man who supported the project and his wife both died in an accident? Well, actually, it was only the husband who died in the accident. His wife's body never surfaced, yep. Unless we find the body, then it's considered a missing person by law. At the time of the incident, with the river below the cliff being muddy rapids, police divers had searched every branch of the main stream of the river for dozens of miles, but in the end, they weren't able to find her body. But that's not them not being able to find the body. She's still dead, right? Isn't it different from being demoned away? Cannot say someone is dead without their body. Actually, there are very few cases, at least in the UK, and I don't know about Japan, but I know in the UK, and I believe in the States as well, and also Australia, where occasionally people have been tried for murder without the body being found. That's a fun fact for you. I said that and then heard a noise over my headphones, so now I am terrified. Until a certain number of years pass, by law she's still treated as alive. Not sure if it's right to call that being demoned away. Wife is missing. At least that part was reality. How about the 3rd year? The Shinto priest died of illness, and his wife committed suicide. Mr. Maebara, it's actually the exact same scenario. Wife had supposedly thrown herself into a bottomless marsh deep in the forest around Tanamizawa, meaning it's all circumstantial evidence. They simply found a suicide note in front of the marsh. Dai was able to recover a few remnants, but they weren't able to find a body. The investigative headquarters believed she'd faked to death and was still alive somewhere. Not sure if we could call these cases being deemed away. It's just as you said, every year one person does go missing. Incident this year, the woman with Tomitake-san has gone missing. Then what about the incident with the housewife beaten to death? Who went missing? I believe the perpetrator was caught, right? Yeah, we arrested him. He was just a miscreant with a record of narcotics abuse. He admitted to the crime while being questioned about a different incident. But, you see, after he was arrested, a child from the victim's home went missing. Oh! Still under investigation as to whether the disappearance had anything to do with the crime. But you said you caught him, right? Did he have an accomplice? No idea. It's considered a separate case. Moreover, we can't even check now. Because while under investigation, that man, he died in his holding cell. Swallowed a spork and choked to death. Oof. It's not known whether it was an accident or suicide. I'm gonna go ahead and guess suicide. The last 5 years, there's always one person who dies and one who goes missing. That's about right. No, actually I'm surprised as well. Never realised they had that in common. Couldn't believe that this could help lead to the closing of those incidents. It's just something they had in common. Could it be that those demoned away have something in common? Oishi-san mumbled and seemed to be thinking about it. So I summarised the events. 1st year was the dam employee, 2nd year was the wife of a dam project supporter, 3rd year was the wife of the Shinto priest, 4th year was the victim's family child, and the 5th year was the victim's girlfriend, I guess. Doesn't seem like there's anything that connects them. With the exception of the 1st year, wives and girlfriends, those do stand out. Does seem like there are a lot. Then that means the 4th year's victim's child was different. Would have really stood out if it were all married couples, except it's not just married couples, but parents and children as well. Come to think of it, I believe Tomitake-san also has told me the younger brother is alive and has moved, if I recall correctly. Child that went missing in the 4th year. Who were they? Apparently he was quite mature, 1 year older than you. Oh. His name was Satoshi Hojo. What? Satoshi? I remember that name. Didn't they tell me Satoshi transferred out last year? Was at your school up until last year. Didn't they tell you anything about him? Come to think of it, when I transferred in, they said my seat belonged to a recent transfer student. Is that the new transfer student? Why's that? Once belonged to the one who's demoned away. It was his seat. Recalled the cold sensation that came from that desk. Made my hair stand on end. A string of mysterious deaths. No, Oyashiro-sama's curse. I now knew how it connected to me. Chilling sensation. It was a feeling of Oyashiro-sama caressing the back of my neck. Oyashiro-sama's curse? Huh? Could Oyashiro-sama's curse really exist? In all honesty, I was beginning to believe it, and I was certain. That was why I wanted to say it was a plot crafted by man and not the work of a curse, but the more I dug into it, the less likely that seemed. No, the more I dug, the more mysterious it became. If I kept digging, eventually, I'd reach the point where I'd learned something I really shouldn't know. To either be none the wiser or to seek an answer I may regret. Which one would I be happier with? Maybe It'll be me next time. My execution could only be delayed for 1 year. That was when I remembered. Reina. Reina said she may be the next victim of the curse. You mean Reina Ryugu? She transferred in last year and she's your classmate, isn't she? The incidents really might be a bit too disturbing for a girl. She's not just scared, is she? It wasn't that. She said it might be her next. She said it in a way that made me think she had a concrete reason behind it. Felt like she was convinced, almost as if, you could say, she was frightened. A sudden change in demeanour, that someone who looked like Reina but wasn't Reina, might be unrelated. All the strange things that I felt from Reina today came back to me. See, then I'll be doing a bit of investigating on this end. Please continue your observations of Ms. Ryugu, Mr. Maebara. You asking me to keep Reina under surveillance? It's not what I meant, Mr. Maebara. Just want you to watch out for your friend so she doesn't end up the next victim. That moment, just as my mouth was agape because I was so impressed with his clever, mature way of words. Knock knock. Sudden knock at the door sent my heart racing. Instant, I'd pointlessly covered up the end of the receiver. Keiichi, get the door, please. On the other side of the door, I heard my father's oddly upbeat voice. What could it be? So late. Sorry, my dad just came in. Can we leave it at this for tonight? Yeah, my apologies again for calling so late. If you find out anything else, please let me know. I'll tell you if I make any progress on this end. Well then, have a pleasant evening. Keiichi, hurry and open up. Dad's got his hands full. What is Dad doing? Stayed in the same position while on the phone the whole time, so my joints were aching. Opened the door, saw my father was standing there with a tray. That tray, cookies and 2 cups of black tea. Fairly fancy spread for our household. There was even sugar and lemon slices. On the side, everything you could ask for. This was quite the show of hospitality. What's going on, Dad? What's all this for? Come now, don't play around, Keiichi. I'm coming in. Dad was in high spirits and had a smirk on his face, but for my entire life I've never seen him act this hospitable. What had gotten into him? So what were you talking about? I jumped. It's not something I had to keep from my father, but how could I explain to him I was talking to a detective? I'm assuming he was, this late at night. Nothing much, just a friend. I don't mean the phone. She was here, wasn't she? Reina? Oh no. She wasn't here. Come now, don't try to keep it from me. She just came over to play. You two were chatting away, so I thought I'd bring some tea, but looks like I just missed her. I had no idea what Dad was talking about, but a cold sweat dripped down my back. How long were we talking? Reina went upstairs about half after, so it was close to an hour, I guess. You saw her come up to the 2nd floor? Yeah, I did. I also told her your room was the door down the hall up the stairs. Reina came to my house about an hour ago. Dad met her at the door and called out to me on the 2nd floor. Probably didn't hear him because I was so focused on my conversation with Mr. Oishi. Didn't reply, but he knew I was in my room, so he had her come inside. Then told her my room was on the 2nd floor. She thanked my dad and went upstairs. Then about an hour passed. She passed by my dad just as he was bringing up tea and left. She came upstairs and about an hour passed. Then passed by my dad and returned home. Then after she came upstairs and until she left. Where was Reina? Only a short hallway between my room and the stairs, meaning Reina had for about an hour in the hall. No, she couldn't have been standing in front of my door all that time. The door to my room wasn't particularly thick. Could easily hear everything being said inside. All of the ominous things and all the nonsense I spoke to Mr. Oishi about began rushing through my head. Honey, don't tease him. More importantly, you need to clean up your studio. It's a mess again. Mum yelled up at Dad from downstairs. Dad left the tray with me and went downstairs with a disappointed chortle. Followed my dad out of the room with my eyes. Looked down at the floor around the doorway where Reina might have stood all that time. Just now, as I was talking to Mr. Oishi, with my back turned, Reina was standing a mere 6 foot away the whole time? All that time in this dimly lit doorway? What did she see? What did she hear? For what reason? As the steam from the 2 teacups ominously wafted and twisted, the aroma of black tea filled my room. How deliciously, incredibly creepy. Receive new tips. Notice from the police chief. The achievement for finishing this chapter is Light Arena. Then we have enjoy a homemade snack, see the truth behind the crimes, take up another's bat, falling on deaf ears, run from the truth of your crimes, and then complete Onikakushi. So I guess that's 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And then please uncover the truth is like finished. We'll see. July 1982. Departments 1 through 12. XX Prefectural Police Headquarters. Director General XXX. Triple X. Chief Constable and all facility managers. Regarding cases situated in Hinamizawa Village, notice. As cases in Shishibono City, Hinamizawa Village, have been reported by certain sections of mass media, it's drawn global attention, which is causing serious repercussions for local residents. This has become a very serious situation. To protect the livelihood and prosperity of the residents, the following notice has been issued. 1. Designate the following criminal investigations as classified. Okonomiya Station 1982, case number X. Hinamizawa Village housewife murder, June XX. 1982, case number X. Hinamizawa Village student disappearance, dated June 82, I guess it would be. Non-disclosure of information. Okonomiya Station 1979, case number. Hinamizawa Village site foreman murder, dated June XX. Shiro Station 1980, case number. Shiro Natural Park falling incident, dated June XX. Okonomiya Station 1981, case number. Hinamizawa Village Shinto priest's wife disappearance, dated June XX. Requesting self-restraint from each organisation concerning the release of sensitive information. Please see attached reference materials 1, 2, and 3. Management, XX Prefecture Headquarters. Internal line, Quadruple X, Police Affairs Department, XX, XX, XX. Woof. I thought there were 12 chapters, but I guess I'm wrong. Anyway. Let's keep going. We're gonna have to face Reina tomorrow and it's going to be bad. Weariness and a headache. Not a very nice way to start the day. What's wrong? Keiichi, you don't look so well. When did you go to sleep? Seeing that my mum had noticed my sullen state. Yesterday, I kept on waking up in the middle of the night. Without doubt, I felt a presence. Felt the presence of someone standing in front of my door. Told myself repeatedly it was my imagination and forced myself to try and sleep, except, not being able to stand it, I gathered up my courage and opened the door. Of course there wasn't anyone there. I think I did this 3 times throughout the night. Or maybe I just didn't remember doing it any more than that. Even though I was able to get to the breakfast table that instant, I still didn't feel at ease. It might be a cold. I don't really have an appetite. My, you do seem a little warm. Well, can you make it to school? Technically, I did go to a school, but it was mostly self-study. Wouldn't matter much if I missed a day, would it? Could have been that I hadn't been feeling very well for the last few days, because I really did have a cold. If I took some medicine and got a good day of rest, I might be able to greet everyone with a smile tomorrow. Ding dong. Startled, I looked back and forth between the entrance and the clock. It was 10 minutes later than when I usually met up with Reina. It was Reina. Reina-chan came to get you. What are you going to do? You going to take the day off? Reina was a good girl. She might be somewhat quirky, but she was certainly cute. Lunches she made were delicious, and she always looked out for me. Why should I be so scared of something like that? It wasn't Reina's fault. Probably mine. I had to have been my cold. Just had to be. I'll rest. Sorry. Then I'll go send her off for you. Mom headed off to the door. I would have to pass by the entrance to get back to my room. I didn't have the nerve to meet with Reina, so I wrapped myself in a blanket on the sofa and closed my eyes. So sleep deprived, I quickly fell into a deep slumber. It looks so comfy, except for the wooden arms. I only intended to lie down for a bit, but it was almost noon when I woke up. Called out to my parents, but they didn't seem to be around. On the table, I found much prepared in a note. Mum and Dad had apparently driven off to somewhere far away. It likely had to do with Dad's work. This happened every so often, so it wasn't that unusual. They'd probably be back sometime after dinner. On the note it said, insurance card is in the cabin. Take it and go to the hospital. There's also a well-drawn map to the hospital. That's right, I hadn't been there before, so I didn't know exactly where it was. I'd light lunch, although it really was just leftovers from the morning, and just in case went to the hospital. The idea of going to the hospital for a cold to me is whack, but I also hate going to the doctor. In general. Normally I'd never be here in the middle of a weekday. Just walking around like this had me feeling guilty. It was an odd feeling. Like when you leave work early and you feel you're like going home over lunchtime in like your work clothes and you feel like you snuck out from school even though it's because you've taken a half day and you're going home early. Following my mum's map, I took a road I never usually used. After walking for a bit, the hospital sign came into view. I'm assuming by hospital what they mean is clinic? Yeah. Irie Clinic was written rather stylishly on the sign, so I guess more like a drop-in centre than a hospital. But based on the scale of the rest of Hinamizawa, it was far too grand. It was a parking lot and even a reserved spot for buses. They must be making a mint. Does Japan only have private healthcare? Spaced out in the air-conditioned waiting room until it was my turn to be seen. Mr. Maebara, please make your way to the examination room. After properly answering all of the chatty doctor's questions, he responded with the old, "It's probably a cold." Gave me a shot and 3 days worth of medicine. Thought it was a little overboard, but if it would clear away the gloom feeling I'd been having lately, then it was worth it. What kind of shot would they give you for that? I suppose it's the 80s, so like orange juice or something. Settled the bill and took a quick trip to the washroom. As I was leaving, I overheard a conversation between some elderly people who seemed to be regulars at the clinic. Of course, I had no intention of eavesdropping, if it wasn't just for that word. Must have been an Onikakushi. I wonder, she was still pretty young. Might have just eloped. With whom? That man from Tokyo who visits every season? Young one with a big camera. Didn't you know they were getting along pretty well? They're talking about Mr. Tomitake? Could feel my ears perking up. Don't know about that, but you have to make preparations before you elope. Leave a note or quit their job or something. It's an elopement because they didn't leave a note or message. The thought that I'll never see that young nurse's face again makes me rather sad. Mrs. Takano is an upstanding young woman. She'll be fine wherever she goes. So her name was Miss Takano? That woman with Mr. Tomitake. And she worked at this clinic? Oyashiro-sama's shadow was following me everywhere I went. Started listening more closely, but they began talking about fishing, and it didn't seem like they were going to revisit the topic. I gave up and left. Thus, even though I was separated from the daily monotony of school, I wasn't able to escape from Oyashiro-sama's shadow. But of course, Oyashiro-sama was the guardian deity of this place, of Hinamizawa. As long as I was in Hinamizawa, I wouldn't be able to escape. I'd have thought which was 9, 10, 11, 12, epilogue, and finish. Maybe it's because I was walking outside, but my appetite suddenly returned. Might as well buy a snack with a change from the examination fee on the way home. Contemplating that, I turned onto a familiar street. At that moment, I heard a coal horn abruptly honk behind me. Was I really walking so far into the middle of the road where I'd be in a car's way? I moved farther off to the side, but the horn was still honking at me. Turned around, peeved. Ah, it's this fucker again. Mr. Maebara, good day to you. It was Mr. Oishi. He stepped out of his car, AC on full blast, and waved at me. What's up today? School on break? Just not feeling well, so I took the day off. I was about to buy lunch and head back home. That's great. I'm just about to get lunch myself. Would you mind going together? If you're not feeling up for it, then don't mind me. I was just going to lie down after going home anyway, and I didn't really have a cold. I doubt you'd want to eat at one of these local places. Let's go into town. It's a bit of a drive. Is that alright? I know a pretty good place. Finally began to understand Mr. Oishi's roundabout way of saying things. Probably wanted to talk to me about stuff that would be difficult to discuss while in Hinamizawa. Just an aside, I feel like a police officer taking an underage kid into their car and driving them out of town to a restaurant to get lunch, there's something about that that is really off-putting to me. Like, even though... My neighbour just come home and scared me. Even though I know... Hi, Nichols! I hope you're doing well. But I'm just thinking, like, even though I'm pretty certain that Mr. Oishi is, like, an alright guy, except for being, like, a doing it the wrong way type cop, it's still really unnerving. Excellent. I'm glad to hear that. Sorry, I had my dinner too fast and now I've got hiccups. Oh, good. That's good. That's the most important thing, obviously. I know the feeling all too well, so... Okay. I've pretty much only just started, so, we found out, we did the bit where Reina was standing outside our door listening to us on the phone with this guy, and, now he's coming to take me out for lunch, which I find really unnerving. I went with Mr. Oishi, riding in his frigid car. It was almost as if the bright sunlight outside was a lie. Sorry about calling you so late last night. Did your parents get angry at you? No. I recalled Raina, who had been listening to the phone conversation all that time, separated from me by just the door. Even now, in the brightness of the sunlight, the thought still creeped me out. With a bump that jolted the car, the road connected to the city, changed from dirt to pavement. My head swiveled back with a sudden realization. That's right. This is where Mr. Tomitake died. They've hit a snag on the investigation regarding Mr. Tomitake. Mr. Oishi spoke while peering at me from the corner of his eye. They believe it was caused by hallucinogens, given how he was clawing out his own throat, but a drug that could cause that to happen so suddenly is extremely hard to come by. Bear in mind, of course, the autopsy was done with that premise in mind, but we didn't find any leads. You know the thing you see in comics all the time, where there's a drug that if you put it in them, it doesn't leave any traces? It exists. Cyclical something or other. It's pretty common. But you see, there doesn't seem to be any kind of drug that would cause Mr. Tomitake to react like that. Then you're saying the police concluded Mr. Tomitake just died from the curse? Couldn't help but feel that the police were worthless. I just want the idea of a curse to be dissociated from Mr. Tomitake's mysterious death. Fortunately, that's how it looks right now, but putting aside the cause of death, without a doubt, he was surrounded by a group of people and taken a beating before he died. That wasn't a curse, but an incident that was unquestionably involved other humans. Frog in my throat, I'm sorry. I suppose likely something that can be repaired. What I always find most annoying is when everything on your end is fine, and it's just your ISP is having issues, and it's like, there's nothing you can do except wait. That is by far and away for me the most frustrating thing. My neighbour keeps slamming their door and I don't know why they're doing it. But just like over my headphones I keep hearing the sound of a door closing. I presume they're not like taking trash out because maybe it's just me, but I mean I leave my door open when I'm taking trash out because I'm going to be coming back into my flat in a second. It's very odd. Anyway. The joys of living in a house that's been converted into flats. That made me a bit relieved. We passed in front of the rather desolate, but still busier than Hinamizawa train station. Car pulled into a restaurant parking lot, and I followed Mr. Oishi into the shop. Oishi. It was pretty crowded, but there were only adults at this hour. Of course there would be children in here in the middle of a weekday. 2 please, non-smoking. This way please. When you're ready to order, please call me over. We were led by a peculiarly dressed waitress to our table. I sat with Mr. Oishi in the booth. So, what do you think? Aren't the waitresses' outfits here cute? Huh? Well, I guess. Shop is always quite busy. It's more about the waitresses and the food, you see. Aha! Mr. Oishi, you're leering. Am I really? This dude's unnerving. Just putting it out there. So far, he's my least favourite. And he's not threatened to kill me once. God's how the waitresses looked. The food was decent enough. Finishing our meals or talking about some inane topic, Mr. Oishi's after-meal cup of coffee arrived at the table. Yesterday we talked about Hinamizawa's past, didn't we? Yeah, that it was the village of man-eating demons or something like that. I didn't know much about it myself, so I asked my grandmother about it this morning. Mr. Oishi took out the notepad that was stuffed into his breast pocket. Turns out that Hinamizawa used to be called Onikakushi, or Ogre's Abyss. I think that's the name of a later, arc, Onikakushi, I believe. I could be making that up. Onikakushi. It's quite the name. The name is still around. The marsh where the Shinto priest's wife drowned herself is still called Ogre's Abyss. It's said that the depths of that marsh connect to the realm of demons. Of course, nobody told me anything about such an ominous marsh. You see, it appears they were both feared and revered. Respect born of fear. I guess you could say it was kind of deification. Village of inhuman creatures. Seems the demons were senin, or mountain-dwelling mystics of some sort. Taking villagers with incurable illnesses into the Ogre's Abyss and healing them, for example. Even if we're calling them demons, Tengu, long-nosed goblins, or senin would be a more apt description. This just reminded me of, I think, is possibly one of the Fatal Frames? Is something like this. I want to say it's Fatal Frame 2. The one where you have the 2 twins. They don't seem like such terrible people, even though they were called demons. But they were still man-eating demons, according to the story my grandma told me. As payment for treating the son's illness, let us eat the mother who brought him here, was apparently how things went. Price of curing her son was herself? That's unsettling. Of course, the mother took her son and ran. Then, you see, all the people who lived in Onikakushi, the demons chased them down, rounded them up and captured them. The entire village, apparently. It's quite a frightening thing to imagine. In the end, it seems both the mother and son were caught and eaten. The end. There's a problem with this story. Both witnesses in the story were eaten, so nobody would be able to tell the tale. Huh? There are plenty of old fables like this. Contrast to the ghastly tale, Mr. Oishi laughed heartily while sipping his coffee. But, well, there are quite a few other tales, where the demons from Onikakushi band together to capture their prey. Recall that Mion said all the villagers united and fought against the dam construction. I saw similarities with how that part about unification overlapped. Normally, they hunted down a single person, and they chose who it was going to be beforehand. Huh? That caught my attention. Mr. Oishi also appeared to be pondering what it meant. My grandmother told me that you must never interfere with the demon's hunt. You should just hold up in your house and hide under the covers, she said. So what does this all mean? It means you mustn't ever help or protect the prey. As long as you don't disturb the demon's hunt, no harm will fall upon the villagers. Yep. Seems there's that kind of rule. Basically, don't help the victims. Pretend you didn't see the atrocities, in other words. Or, as it goes now, let people die and don't investigate or try and solve it. Or try and deal with it, rather, I should say. Because it's like the one, 2 sacrifices a year, one to the god and one to the demons. And boom, your village is safe. Isn't this the plot of, that horror film that came out last year set in Sweden where the poster is the girl with the big flower crown? That I kept wanting to watch, and then I'm like, I do like horror films, I just get really freaked out. And also, I don't like going outside, and that includes going to the cinema. Having to go outside for reasons other than work, extremely cursed in my opinion. Oops, here we go. What happens if you break the rule? Well, the man-eating demons, after all. Many parts of that tale caught my attention. Parts of the story told me overlapped with the theory that the perpetrators were all village families. Even if it wasn't the whole village, it was conceivable the villagers were hiding under the covers and leaving them to die when there was a group that was on their hunt, wasn't it? I didn't dare speak it. Then Mr. Oishi. Looks like it's either the village families or a group of villagers perpetrating the crimes. What do you think, Mr. Maebara? Excuse me. Another cup of coffee, please. That's what I wanted to know. Assumed that we were both waiting for the other to say that last part. I waited for the waitress to finish pouring coffee before speaking. Last year, I had a nagging feeling when Mr. Satoshi disappeared. Mr. Oishi muttered as he watched the milk swirl around in his coffee. So there's friends of Satoshi, meaning your group of friends, Mr. Maebara. I had a bit, really just a little bit, okay? Of background checking done on them. If Mr. Oishi had said this to me before, I would have been furious since he told me earlier not to suspect my friends, but as I was now, I couldn't. This might sound pretty stupid. Mr. Maebara, if you feel that it's stupid, please say so. I'll just stop. Mr. Oishi was wearing the most serious expression I'd ever seen from him. It was as if he was telling me to prepare myself and listen. There were quite a few things I regretted hearing from Mr. Oishi, but none of them were as threatening as this. The little voice inside me was screaming like an alarm. Stop, Keiichi! This is probably the last one! Took a deep breath and silenced that voice. I would not run from the truth. Please. That was all I could utter. Mr. Oishi stared into my eyes silently for a few moments. After he was certain I was ready, he began. The victim of the incident in the first year was the overseer. A few weeks prior, he had an altercation with Mion Sonozaki. Multiple altercations. Mr. Oishi had said before that Mion had defied the dam project vehemently. Should have been like 12 at the time, right? Well, it wasn't hard to imagine how she'd be if she got worked up. In the second year, the married couple who supported the project died in that accident, right? They had a daughter. Her name was Satoko. What the fuck? Oh my god. Huh? Satoko. Meaning Satoko? Mr. Oishi's look told me my voice was far too loud. I realized it as well and quickly quieted down. Shinto priest and his wife who died in the third year. You see, the daughter is Rika Furude. This I'd guessed. Rika was housewife who died in the fourth year. You know already, don't you? It was the step-aunt of Satoko Hojo. She was in her aunt and uncle's custody. She'd lost both of her parents in the accident. She lived in the victim's house. I could tell my lips were getting dry. I didn't even have the wits to keep my mouth from hanging agape. I thought it was nothing but a bizarre incident, one that I could easily distance myself from, but clicking and clacking, it snuck all the way to my feet. The one who disappeared by the fourth year, by the way, he was Toko's older brother. Just wait a second. Took everything I had to finally say that. I gulped down a glass of water and once again wiped my face with a napkin. Calm down, Keiichi. But Mr. Oichi was relentless. Instead of waiting for me to finish sorting out my feelings, he started speaking again. The last of the things I shouldn't have heard. All of the victims seem to be connected to your group of friends. That has to be just a coincidence. Mr. Maebara, keep it down. Everyone's looking. Mion? Satoko? Rika? So what if they're connected? Telling me all of my friends? Couldn't be. It just couldn't be. Oh, Reina's different, isn't she? Reina isn't connected with the victims at all. Reina Ryugu was living in a suburb of Ibaraki Prefecture up until last year. Well, it's true she hasn't directly met any of the victims. He said it in a roundabout way. Is he saying she's also connected? Actually, I looked into her. Before Ryugu moved to Hinamizawa, she was suspended from school. Seems she went through a school building and broke all of the windows. Reina did that? She broke all the windows at a school? That same silly Reina couldn't even imagine it. Seems that after a 3-day suspension, she didn't return to school. She went to a neurologist and was diagnosed with dysautonomia. She was given weeks of counselling and medication. Dysautonomia, I believe. I'm going to have to Google this super quickly because I don't know if the thing that I think it is actually the thing that it is, if you know what I mean. Dysautonomia. It is when the autonomic nervous system doesn't work properly. So basically it's when your nervous system doesn't work. I wonder if it was something like a nervous breakdown. I'd heard that it happens to people who are really methodical or overly sensitive. Neither of those matched Reina's easygoing personality. And in the counsellor's medical report, he recorded all the conversations he had with Reina. It shows up, and quite a bit at that. What did? Press forward carelessly. There couldn't be anything more for me to regret. She mentioned the word Oyashiro-sama. What? Felt like someone's stone-cold hand was caressing my back. Why had Reina spoken of Oyashiro-sama before she even came to Hinamizawa? Seems that the Oyashiro-sama she spoke of was like a ghost, appearing in her house every night. Standing over her pillow, looking down at her. My mind froze. Couldn't process what I was being told. While after that, she moved to Hinamizawa. Ah, that's right. She's not an outsider. Huh? According to the residency register, the Ryugu family used to reside in Hinamizawa. Reina moved to Ibaraki right after she finished elementary school. My mind went completely blank. Similar to the static you'd see on a blank TV channel. My ears began ringing as I lost all sense of comprehension. Mr. Maebara, are you alright? Shall we stop? Those words brought me back. I couldn't let it end here. Now I understand Reina. Then how about the last victim, Mr. Tomitake? Who was he connected with? Irritated, I let out one final reprisal. All of them. Have you forgotten, Mr. Maebara? Didn't you all spend the night of the festival together quite merrily? Quite a few of the officers saw you enjoying yourselves. No, there was nothing, I responded. I fell silent as my brain turned to mush. Woofa doofa! We should get going. Mr. Maebara, did you take your afternoon medicine? I'd completely forgotten about the medicine I'd gotten today until Mr. Oishi said that. I got another glass of water and we left the shop after I chugged it down. What medicine can you give someone for a cold, really? Aside from cough medicine, which I think just dopes you up, basically. We got in the car and returned to Hinamizawa via the rough road. I never really paid attention when I was on my bike, but did cars normally shake this much? Almost as if the road was desperately trying to tell me something. Ba-dump. That big jolt was from a difference in elevation on the road when it changed to cement to dirt. I was certain that I heard Mr. Tomitake scream. I sat in silence, just letting myself be shaken by the car. I'll drop you off at your house. You missed school because you were ill, correct? My apologies for the non-conversation. Why did you talk to me? I blurted out the question. Really just blurted it out. Didn't expect an answer. I did check with you first, didn't I? We should just stop. Not that. Why did you reach out to me? I understood quite well that Mr. Oishi was investigating the string of suspicious incidents, but why was he telling me all this? Knew nothing and I couldn't help. Everything Mr. Oishi spoke of was news to me. First of all, what could I, having just moved here, know? By chance, if there was a reason for Mr. Oishi to reach out to me, then it would have to be that I looked suspicious to Mr. Oishi, as I was part of Mion's circle of friends. I'm retiring this year. I plan on moving away after retiring, as my grandma wants. So while I'm still in this case, I want to bring the truth behind this incident to light. So, Mr. Oishi, you suspect them, don't you? All of them. Mr. Oishi didn't really give a response. Felt a little late, but I thought it was his way of showing a bit of consideration for my feelings. This is mostly my intuition from 30 years on this job. Mr. Maebara, you're the one in danger. Huh? I wanted to reply with that was absurd, but in my downtrodden state, I couldn't bring myself to say it. We're retiring this year, so I won't be at the Watanagashi next year, so I want to settle things. In other words, he was insinuating that on the next Onikakushi I might be the victim. Warned by the chief as well. Each isn't in the string of cases been solved, so don't bring it up again, or so I was told. This is the pressure that I'm facing. Pressure from what? Someone in Hinamizawa. We've arrived. Is this fine? After some time, the car finally reached the path to my house. Clock read 2 p.m. Surprised a little time had passed since we ate. I sat outside the car. The chirping of the Higurashi hurt my ears. I won't mind if you just forgot everything I told you today, but I'm still going to keep investigating. I'll end Higurashi-sama's curse this year. So you're saying I should contact you if anything happens? It's fine. Just contact me when you feel you have to, Mr. Maebara. Wasn't collected enough to understand Mr. Leach's roundabout way of saying it. Be sure to take it easy. I'm sorry for throwing all this at you while you're taking the day off because you're sick. Didn't really give any sort of response. I'll always be on your side. If anything, believe that. I'll be off now. Tyres crunched over the dirt road as the car made a U-turn and disappeared into a cloud of kicked-up dust. Felt like I was watching a boat, only throwing me a lifesaver in shark-invested waters before disappearing into the distance. That was the first time I thought Mr. Oishi was being unfair. Telling me I was going to be the next victim, then just saying to contact him if something happened. This wasn't a criminal investigation. He was fishing. And I was just the bait dangling off a line. Would the fish be the perpetrator, or was it really just Higurashi-sama's curse? Either way, the bait would be swallowed whole. Damn it, I don't want to die. For some time I could do nothing but stare at the puddle of water left behind by the AC from the car. I'll tell you what, I did not remember any of that. I should have put together that Satoshi Hojo and Satoko Hojo were siblings, but I totally didn't. Wonder how much time had passed since I lay down. It was getting dark outside. My body was soaked in sweat. Probably be a good idea to change my sheets. That moment, the phone downstairs rang. It was probably Mum. Mum was quite the worrywart. Maybe she had called many times, but I just didn't notice it. Ah, the joys of modern life in a cell phone. Hello, this is the Maebara residence. Oh, he's alive. Hello, this is Mion. How you doing? Is this one of Keiichi's friends? Keiichi is resting now, but shall I put him on? Huh? Is this his dad? Sorry. Idiot. You fell for it. Huh? Keiichi! After exchange, we both had a good laugh together, except I was suspicious of her, even as we were laughing. Was everybody really involved in the incidents? The fact that I couldn't say no saddened me. I'm relieved that you seem well. Reina was really worried, you know? Stoko was happy and said you got what you deserved. Rika said, how unfortunate he's sick. Looks like everyone was making a big deal out of it. Well, you know, so Keiichi. Is now a bad time to come pay you a visit? A visit? No, it's okay. It's not like I'm dying. My grandma made a ton of mochi, you see. I was told to share them. So I'll bring you some. A ton of me! Fun fact. I did choose my internet username off the snack. But it was because of an incredibly dumb joke between myself and a friend from probably about 10 years ago, and I've never been able to escape the name since then. Because it's unique and so people don't tend to have it. But at the same time, if you ever try and spell Mochi Invasion out loud, it's a nightmare. Just a fun fact for you. Hey now, you'll catch my cold. Not to worry, both Reina and I are too stupid to catch a cold. See you, be there in a bit. She hung up cheerfully. Reina's coming too? That's what it sounded like. Still concerned about meeting Reina, but I guess if she was with Mion. I heard the doorbell 10 minutes later. How are you feeling? Did you take your medicine and rest? Did just that. Thank goodness you look well. I was worried. Sorry, I'll be fine by tomorrow. Mia showed a complete lack of concern for someone who's recovering, and Reina looked like she was worrying about me from the bottom of her heart. Didn't look like there was anything behind those expressions. I thought we might hang out for a bit, but it looks like you're not quite in the condition for it. You don't say. See, my face appeared a bit sullen. Then here, Keiichi. These are the mochi Mion's grandma made. Reina held out the packet wrapped in newspaper. There might be about 5 in here. It's quite hefty. Thanks. Send my regards to your grandma, Mion. Yep. There's one that I made in there as well. Wonder if Keiichi can guess which one. This is Keiichi's homework since he missed the club meeting today. There are letters on each mochi, so I'll ask you tomorrow. Were you checking if I was feeling better, or you just come here for club activities? Yep, looking fine. Guess you'll be able to make it tomorrow. Man, what are you going to do if my fever comes back because of your shenanigans? Mion, we shouldn't be making such a racket. Let's go. The other people here will get angry. Both of them thought my parents were home. It's because the entranceway was a mess. You're right, let's get going. By the way, Keiichi. Yeah? what did you eat for lunch? A sudden question startled me, and I went wide-eyed when I saw Mion. Never seen her like that. It was a highly unsettling visage. But why is she asking me about why I ate for lunch? What she said was so inane it almost sounded meaningless. The way she said it was almost like she didn't even care at all about what I ate. I ate out. She must have suspected that I was with Mr. Oishi. Anyway, I thought that if I'd hesitated on trying to change the subject, they'd read too deep into it, so I tried answering as quick as possible. Except, contrary to the efforts I'd made, there was a pause before they replied. So you ate out for lunch, Mr. Keiichi? The glimmer of Reina's eyes had changed at some point as well. It was now sharp, as if to make me feel the faint ignorance behind her words even more, as if she already knew that's how it looked to me. Well, was it good? Why are you asking me this? Mion was speaking in an unusually low tone, almost as if she knew that I'd eaten at a restaurant in town. No, I'm overthinking this. I mean, both of them should have been at school at lunchtime. There was no way they could have known where I was. Seems you were with a rather austere-looking older guy. Who was he? Plop. Package with the mochi I was holding slipped out of my hands. I could tell the blood had drained from my face, making me go pale. Oh, Keiichi, who was he? Could it be the person from before, I wonder? I wonder. I could feel the back of my throat going dry. This was no longer a bluff. They knew everything? How do you know that? It took everything I had to finally force those words from my throat. My knees were shaking. Because there's nothing this old man doesn't know. Mion sneered knowingly, and her laugh seemed to carry on forever. So, Keiichi, what did you talk about? Seems like you got pretty worked up over it, too. We weren't talking about you guys. I didn't have anything to do with you or Reina. Isn't it a bit strange to hear our names come up, even though nobody asked about that, huh? Reina's unwavering gaze pierced through my eyes and peered further inside me. I dug my own grave. My heart was throbbing so much I felt like it was going to explode. Well, whatever you're trying to hide, this old man already sees through it all. Remember that. I couldn't even shake my head. It took everything I had to stop my teeth from chattering. She never let her gaze break from mine, even as she tilted her head slightly. Keiichi, you don't look so good. I think you should lie down. If that's true, we should both head back home. I hate it! As if nothing had happened, they both giggled at each other and started making their way out. I hadn't moved a muscle since I dropped the package of mochi, so I left the door slowly closed behind them. All I could do was stare, as if I couldn't move until the door was completely closed. Bad sound effect! Just as the door was about closed, it opened again slightly with a sudden creak, sending my heart racing once again. A single eye peered in through that narrow slit, and Mion's hawkish gaze peered at me once again. See you, Keiichi. Yeah, I'd hate it if you missed school tomorrow, alright? Thud. Door closed. Wasn't able to move a muscle even after their low laughter died off into the distance, and silence once again enveloped the room. Coming back to my senses, the first thing I did was lock the door. They knew what Mr. Oishi and I talked about? Why? How? No, that wasn't important. Thinking about it now, all of it could have been overheard from the beginning when Mr. Oishi met me. Just as Mion said, I couldn't hide anything. Then, what were they trying to tell me? That part was obvious. They were warning me not to say anything unnecessary. What did they deem unnecessary? I only talked with Mr. Oishi about one thing, and they were warning me that that was unnecessary? What was it that Mr. Oishi talked to me about? Incidents involving Oyosho-sama's curse that occurred every year weren't individual cases, but were connected as a whole, as well as the fact that there may be multiple perpetrators hidden within Hinamazawa. No, more precisely, that Mion, Reina, Toko, and Rika were all suspicious. Is that what they warned me against? What kind of nonsense am I thinking about? I hit my own face hard enough that it let out a hard slap. If only that would wake me from this nightmare. But for some reason it felt like I was punching a blanket. It was almost laughably painless. Calm down, Keiichi. When did I become such a pessimist? Calm down, calm down. Settle down and sort things out. The reason Miyano was eating lunch with Mr. Oishi was probably because somebody from Hinamazawa just happened to be there at the time. Must have told Mion that I was there. That made the most sense. Plus, come to think of it, she didn't ask me where I ate lunch, did she? She only asked, was it good? They were just curious since I was together with someone not from Hinamazawa. It's not as if they had ulterior motives. That's it. That has to be it. Thinking about it that way, it was the same with Reina. Just being strangely ambiguous about when I met with Mr. Oishi, and Reina was just correcting me on that. That's when I was bewildered by the change in character from the usual mild-mannered Reina, and was just startled by it. It's the most natural way of thinking about it. Felt like my mind was mixed up like a tangled mess of spaghetti. Deep red marinara sauce would have poured out of my nose and ears if you squeezed my head. Feel like that every day, bruh. Thinking that, I suddenly felt like vomiting. Really didn't want that to happen, so I stopped holding my head. Lately, I had no idea what anyone was saying. Spending time with them was fun. It didn't feel like there was any sort of hidden agenda. I really do think they're a good bunch of people. When I just moved here and couldn't make heads or tails of everything, they were really kind to me. Reina was really kind and always looked after me. As long as that strange affliction didn't rear its ugly head, she was pretty cute. Mion was also a really good person. She didn't care about anyone's age or gender and was optimistic and outgoing. I was never bored when I was with her. Talking of not getting bored, rambunctious Satoko was a good person for that too. She was pretty bratty, but that was just the way she interacted with others. Rika was the same way. She didn't speak often, but that didn't mean she was always silent. They're my friends. But after hearing the better untold secrets of Hinamiza from Mr. Oishi and Mr. Tomitake, when I was told about Yoroshinsama's curse, things started going crazy. Then hearing from Mr. Oishi that Mion, Reina, Satoko, and Rika were all suspicious. After that, everyone changed. That's right. It all started getting weird after Mr. Oishi told me all that strange stuff. At that time, I really should have just not listened to those weird stories. I really like this because this is Keiichi coming so close to self-awareness. So close. Like, he is waving at the self-awareness, giving it some finger guns that I can't do because my wrist hurts too much, and then just yeeting himself back off the edge into paranoia. And I even shouldn't have heard about the past incidents from Mr. Tomitake the night of the Onikakushi. If I just hadn't gotten that strange sense of curiosity. If I just hadn't... That's right. So that's why they killed Tomitake-san. That impudent outsider speaking to the likes of me after everybody went out of their way to keep it a secret from me. They'll probably kill Mr. Oishi as well. For trying to unearth what everybody was warning me was better left buried. I have to be honest, I did not read that as killed. I read that as something else. Besides, that he was unforgivable for spewing words that made me doubt the others. Of course a guy like that is going to be effed or killed. Both Tomitake and Mr. Oishi were nothing but outsiders after all. They were entities who couldn't coexist with the people of Hinamizawa. This guy should just fall to a Yoroshinsama's curse and just die. It wasn't their fault. It was my fault for not being able to hold back my curiosity. It wasn't their fault. It wasn't their fault. It wasn't their fault, it wasn't their fault, it wasn't their fault. I settled into a daze. It was a lethargic feeling, like I'd just gotten up, but the ominous chill that haunted me had subsided. I was fine now. I was no longer frightened. I'd completely recovered. I'll go to school tomorrow, right as rain. I'll greet everyone. I'll take part in club activities. It'll definitely be fun. It had to be fun. I was one of them after all. That reminds me, I need to eat those mochi. I hope I'm able to tell which one Reina made. Remember the homework that she brought with them when they visited me. But wow, our club did delivery? That was something else. Picked up the package I dropped on the floor and headed into the living room. It'd be nice, I guess, to have some tea with it. To fill my mouth with mochi while drinking tea. Oh, this was quite a delectable situation I was in. Opening up the newspaper wrapping, there were 5 plump red bean paste mochi fit snugly inside. There were letters written from left to right on the newspaper. A, B, C, D, and E. Now then, it said Reina made one of these. I wonder which one. There wasn't much difference in how they looked. They smelled and appeared about the same. This was a pretty difficult problem. Biggest difference was probably their shape. Wasn't sure what kind of person Mion's grandma was, but Reina's had to be different from hers. Looking carefully, I could see one mochi that was made very neatly. So well that, just by staring at it, one could tell it stood out. Looks like this challenge depends on whether or not this one is Reina's. Calm down and think even harder. Miona said her grandma made a ton of them, was told to give some out, if I remember correctly. So that meant 4 of these were from that large batch. Then what about Reina? She probably only made one, so she probably spent quite a bit of time on it. Meaning the one Reina had made was this one. E. For a moment, I thought it may have been a trap Mion made as she knew I'd pick up on it, but that probably wasn't the case. Wouldn't be so sure if I knew Mion had made it, but since she said Reina made it, probably wasn't a trap. Alright, my tea is ready too. I'll just start with the defending champ, Mion's grandma. Let's see. Not bad. Smooth bean paste and soft chewy texture left little if he desired. Tea I drank afterwards also accentuated the experience. So it's an exquisite piece of work. I too feel that way about food sometimes. Now how about Reina's? The creation was so delicate, one would think it was a high-class Japanese dessert. Since I normally had quite the appetite, I was slightly worried about the size of the portion, but, well, first, a bite. It's quite a difficult one to judge, actually. Ingredients were exactly the same, so there was little difference in flavour. What was different was how it was shaped at the end, so it was to be expected. Deciding factors would be presentation and volume. Well-formed and well-sized champion versus Reina, the challenger, with a size you just couldn't get enough of. I only had one bite at Reina's. Probably have to wait until after I was done eating to make my decision. Maybe there was something hidden inside that could cause an upset. Seems my prediction was right. Tongue touched something. Didn't feel like something edible, so I reached in with my fingers and grabbed it. What was this? I've got a big smile on my face because I know what this is. Before I could fully comprehend what it was, I threw away the rest of the mochi I was eating as fast as I could. It slammed against the wall, causing the bean jam to splatter. Then after sticking for a moment, it slid down the floor. I was dumbstruck by my own actions. What was I doing? Ren had gone out of her way to make it for me. How could I? Dumbstruck, I looked down at the hand that performed such a vile act. Then I remembered what I'd taken out of my mouth. First I thought it was a hair. Even though it was shorter than Mion's, Reina's hair was still quite long. And it wasn't this short. It was also a bit too hard to be hair. It was thick enough to roll around on my tongue. There was a bit of a metallic sheen on one end of it. Ah, yes. There was a hole for where the thread goes through, like it was a sewing needle. That's right. It looked very much like a sewing needle. Exactly like one. The end was pointed as well, quite sharply. Really did look just like a sewing needle. Huh? What did I mean by it looked very much like a sewing needle just a bit ago? I couldn't answer, but a voice inside me already knew and let me know by chattering my molars together. I couldn't stave off the terror welling up inside me. Suddenly, I tasted something metallic and felt a prickling pain at the back of my throat. Stuck my finger in the back of my throat and felt around to see if I was bleeding. Suddenly, I felt the urge to vomit. Sharp taste of bile irritated the back of my throat. Clasped both hands over my mouth and after writhing in agony, was somehow able to hold back the nausea. Finally able to breathe normally again, but this time my heart was intensely throbbing. Then it finally registered. Exactly what was mixed in with the mochi. Before I could think of the correct word, my hands were already on the move. Splat, plop, splort. Tossed the rest of the mochi against the wall. Geometrical patterns of the scattered bean jam on the wall suddenly evoked a terrible omen in my mind. After looking away, I dashed out to the hall and flew upstairs to my room, where I stayed under my covers until morning. I clutched my own shoulders, howling madly in a mix of fear, anger, sadness, and frustration. This wasn't a threat, a warning, or a reminder. Nothing as simple as that. What happened in Hinamizawa? What is happening in Hinamizawa? What would happen? I didn't know the answer to any of those questions. Why did I break a taboo? Regardless, now Reina and Neon and others, they considered me an enemy, and I thought I should just die. I wouldn't let you kill me, not for such a pointless reason. I fell into a restless sleep as I was crushed by my negative emotions. It was as if I was being drawn down into a billowing, bottomless marsh. I'm sorry, I've got hiccups. That is a really good scene. Just how unnerving it is, and then going into the needle. It's a medicine that makes you commit suicide. Threat. It's really, really good. Let's cut to the chase. Is there a drug that causes someone to kill themselves? Not directly, no. It's quite a roundabout response. You're saying there's one that does it indirectly? Something that puts you into a suicidal mental state, like that? That's hard to say. What would a suicidal mental state be? Like a person with a serious bipolar disorder? It's believed that people are most likely to attempt suicide when swinging from depression to mania. Clinical depression and bipolar disorder are different. Clinical depression indicates a prolonged state of depression, whereas bipolar is characterized by a passive, depressed state accompanied by a very active manic state. Individuals with clinical depression suffer from low self-esteem and are quite pessimistic, but rarely commit suicide. They do not have the willpower to commit suicide, nor does mania on its own lead to suicide. That has an opposite effect, filling the person with confidence and making them feel as if they're walking on air. Thus, they do not commit suicide. That's interesting. Neither state causes suicide, but when the condition changes, they might do so. There is a desire to commit suicide when in a state of depression, but they do not have the willpower to commit such a formidable act. But when they enter mania, they gain a burst of willpower and the body moves as they desire. I see. So it means they gain the willpower to do the thing. That's how it goes. That's why patients are given sedatives during that time to keep them from acting on their impulses. Then was Tomitake bipolar? People who suffer from bipolar generally commit suicide by more civilized means, like, say, hanging or jumping off a building. Self-harm as they're going through withdrawal is completely different. Tomitake's death wasn't civilized. Some would think it was caused by some foreign substance. As I said from the start, tell me of a drug that causes someone to do that. Reports that methamphetamine overdoses produce a condition that resembles bipolar. It's a stimulant. Barbiturate overdoses were also reported to cause erratic behaviour. That's a sleep aid. There were no signs of stimulants. Are there any other possibilities? All I can think of is that it's some sort of illness, something like Graves' disease, which affects the thyroid and is known to cause symptoms that resemble bipolar disorder. But Graves' disease has many characteristic symptoms of its own. Disease exhibited none of them. I wonder, is there something that could happen more spontaneously? Something that fits this case and will cause someone to commit suicide all of a sudden? Are you familiar with organic mental disorders? Short, it's a condition where the brain is out of whack due to physical injury or illness. It can be caused by drugs, but also be caused by physical trauma, encephalitis, a stroke, or even tumours. Basically, even without a drug, one can succumb to an irregular mental state. Deceased was surrounded after being chased, and his life was in danger, right? All that stress could have messed with his brain chemistry. He could have hit his head, and those factors combined might have caused him to mutilate himself. It's a possibility. Could you explain it to me in simpler terms? Basically, he knocked his noggin in the brawl, and that made him go haywire. Then his lady didn't have any intent to kill, just smacked him in a bad place when he nicked some change. Two plump men laughed hoarsely. But of course, it's not like that. Undoubtedly. If it was habitual drug use, if it was something mental, C's body holds the key. How are things on your end? Goodness, look at the time. I need to get back so you and Akuma will get angry with me. Yeah, good luck. Best wishes. Best wishes. I feel like this is slightly oversimplifying and misunderstanding, but that's how it be. Those guys just now. They had national diet badges. Then it's the prefectural assembly member and city councillor Sonozaki. That's interesting. Prefectural assembly member and city councillor related. It's dirty is what it is. Shouting out each other's name during elections. When one is up for election, the other holds an assembly, and they double up their campaign activities, blatantly. Don't know how much about the stuff, but isn't that against the rules of the election? As long as they have no prior consultation, there are no restrictions on their political activities. Kuma, the investigation division is going to be pretty tough for you. You should at least brush up on election policies. Not suited for the intelligence division, because I'm dumb. There was a prefectural assembly member, Sonozaki, and city councillor Sonozaki. Also the mayor of Hinamizawa, all of them involved with the Sonozaki family. What crap. Looks like they were seen off. The department chief and the deputy chief came to me. That night, when the chief invited me along to get some oden, I thought that was it. You have a lot of connections, so you might have heard something. Did you? Nope. Not a thing. Ma'am, I'll take a tofu fritter and a fish cake. A councillor barked at me and the police chief said. Oh my, is that so? Ma'am, I'll take another bowl. Prefectural assembly member Sonozaki and city councillor Sonozaki were both intimidating. Our snot-nosed career police chief couldn't even handle being yelled at by them. They're like Yakuza. Petition with your name came up regarding how the investigation of the Hinamizawa incident is being handled. Goodness me? I'm not the faintest. No need to play dumb. You're reopening the past cases regarding Hinamizawa, aren't you? I've already got my hands full with Mr. Tomitaka's death, actually. Really? That's true, then there's no problem. It was a period of silence. We were silent, we made headway on our food and drink. Phew, that was quite the feast. This month has been a bunch of losses for me, so my wallet is feeling the pinch. Much appreciated. Nah, it's nothing. Tell me a good horse again. I'll bet on the same one as you. I haven't been doing well there lately. I haven't been able to read the horses at all. Taxi! I'm going by train. Police chief is taking a taxi. I have my own car, but it'd be rash to drive it home. Can't blow it right before retirement with DUI. Even though he could still rattle off, it looked like his legs were already goo. Pushing him into the cab, I gave the driver the police chief's address. Well, see you again tomorrow. Happy New Year! Mr. Oishi? Yeah. Past incidents have all been closed. Stop numbing them all together. Those villagers half believe it's really a curse. Well, I'm not convinced. You're going to be retiring next year, aren't you? What, are you going to pay off your mortgage with your pension and move up to Hokkaido with your mum? Mother pines to return to the land of her birth. It's the least I can do. And the pension, well, it let me enjoy myself in Susukino. Police chief may issue a special retirement salary raise, he says. Public servants' pension is calculated based on their monthly salary. So if you were to get a raise right before retirement, your bonus to your salary would be inflated, and you get a heavy surplus of funds. Tends to be how it's done around here. Of course, it's not a custom that's thought of highly. The difference between the bonus and the pension is quite a bit. They expect nothing less exemplary from our egghead chief. But, well, they say our salary is compensation for our hard work, but in the end it really just has to do with the passage of time. It's not something I can laugh at, but I'll laugh through it anyway. Don't think it's anything exemplary, but given how hard you've worked, it's not odd that you're getting that much of a pension. I'd like to get that much myself. If I can get it, well, of course I'd want it. Haha. You'll get it. You're an adult, after all. Sorry for holding you up here, driver. Thank you very much. I closed the door roughly, interrupting the chief's conversation a bit rudely. It looked like the chief still had something to say, but he just smiled wryly and waved. I waved in return. The cab sped up gradually and soon disappeared amongst the sea of lights. Oh man, I wonder if I really can repay that loan. Ooh, scurry. Scurry. 10, 11, 12, and Epilogue, maybe? I don't know. Tap, tap, tap. Sound of muffled footsteps top in front of the door to my room. Moment of silence as if whoever they belonged to was ascertaining if I was inside. All the things I should have been doing, I continue with my restless slumber. I was very much conscious, but my body hadn't caught up yet. Even with danger bearing down on me from just beyond the door, it was as if I was completely paralysed and unable to move. Without a doubt, this was sheer terror. Please, just leave. Hey, why isn't my body awake yet? If they came into my room right now, then... Eek! Sprung to my feet and threw my covers at my mum, who was opening the door. Whoa, Keiichi? What's the matter? Sorry, I was still half asleep. I thought it was still 1 or 2 a.m, but the morning sun was already streaming through the gap between the curtains. Felt nothing like morning. Yesterday, I must have fallen asleep right after that. Then I should have gotten a full 10 hours of rest, but it didn't feel like that at all. My internal clock was completely screwed up and my sense of balance felt off. Felt feverish enough that it was clear to me that I was still not well. Well, Keiichi, how are you feeling? Can you make it to school? I was well enough to go, but I wasn't mentally prepared for it. I still plagued with the terror from yesterday. If I had swallowed that needle, what would have happened? Or what if it had pierced my tongue? Undoubtedly a murderous intent, but I don't think that's all it was. If they really wanted to kill me, then there were other, more certain ways to do it. They wouldn't resort to such dubious methods as having me swallow a needle. Meaning, I didn't want to believe it, but going that far was just a threat from Reina and Mion. Aren't you glad you didn't die? But next time we'll use a more assured method. Like that. Something like sending a letter with a razor inside would have been a joke compared to this. Did you make it to the hospital? Did you take your medicine? Yeah, kinda. Something about my mum's dubious gaze bothered me. She seemed more concerned about her son missing 2 days of school rather than him being sick. It was definitely mental fatigue. He wasn't really physically ill. It'll be hard for you to get back on trance once your daily routine is thrown off. Come on, get up. They say wellness is a state of mind. Bullshit. I've had that line many times before. I was given an award in elementary school for having perfect attendance, but it wasn't like I was healthier than everyone. Come on, go wash your face. Breakfast is already ready. There isn't much time before Reina comes and gets you. Mum's tone meant I couldn't argue about it, so I had to give up on skipping a second day. By the way, were you the one who got red bean paste all over the living room wall, Keiichi? You shouldn't do something like that. Father was quite angry. I didn't feel particularly guilty for doing it, so I didn't have much of a reaction. Also, Mum didn't question me any further about it. She headed back downstairs after she was certain I was getting up. What Mion said as she left yesterday, I'd hate it if you missed school tomorrow. Came back and dwelled in the back of my head. What did she mean by that? I didn't even have to really think about it. She was saying don't be absent. Taking that a bit further, it was the same as saying I should just go about living my life as if nothing happened. Showed me signs of acting unusual, it'd probably result in them making their move. For example, maybe I shouldn't pay attention to somebody like Mr. Oishi enticing me with something unusual. Meaning if I didn't watch my mouth or did anything differently from the norm, in effect it would end up flagging myself as someone who was not wanted. It seems that was something the girls didn't tend to forgive. So if I just went along as normal, no harm would come to me. Was that how it was going to be? All that misery I experienced up until yesterday would almost creepily just fade away. It was an enticing deal. Just by forgetting everything I'd seen or heard these last few days, be able to keep on living like normal. There's no way such a selfish thing could... I swallowed hard. I once again deliberated on the idea I just rejected. Mion was probably a good person who had her friends at heart. She was giving me, who had mistakenly broken some rule of theirs, a chance. Was what I did really something so unforgivable? But Mion had given me another chance. She was saying if I just forgot everything and kept on living like I had been, I'd be forgiven. Keiichi, your food is gonna get cold. Hurry up and get down here. Reina will be here if you don't hurry. Ah, I'm coming. Crammed my textbooks into my bag and hastily made my way downstairs. I picked up a somewhat bland breakfast. Seemed that I didn't have much time. It was already past when I usually met up with Reina. Given yesterday's events, she'd probably be here in the next 5 minutes. Needed to be ready to head to school by then. Had to forget everything that happened the past 2 days. Forget it all and return to my normal life. I'm gonna have one of the mini eggs that I bought earlier. Because they make me happy. For this to be normal, I'll have to be where I normally meet up with Reina. They of all days. The rice was dry and hard to get down. Doorbell noise gives me jumps every time. Bing bing. I jumped at the sound and dropped my chopsticks. Chime signaled that Reina had arrived. Mum hurried me a lot. Come on, Reina's already here. Hurry, hurry. Mother's merry smile and my gleamy face were polar opposites. Honestly, I was reluctant to see Reina, who was waiting there on the other side of the door. The Reina on the other side, was it the Reina I knew? I couldn't keep her waiting. I needed to do things as usual. Morning. An invigorating greeting filtered in from across the doorway. I came since Keiji was a bit late. Will you be okay today, I wonder? The manner in which Reina was concerned was, without a doubt, the Reina I knew. But that was probably only if I reciprocated. Forget everything from yesterday. Pretend as though nothing had happened. Forget about the gruesome dismemberment. Forget about the mysterious deaths that happened the following years. Forget about the people falling to their death and the terminal illness and suicide and the lynching and disappearances. Forget it. Forget all of it. Forget that Reina and Mion and Scary. Of course. Forget it all. Forget about everyone. Forget about the mochi too. Forget. Sorry if you can see the notifications of me taking screenshots. Reina once again has to make sure. Can you make it to school? Yeah, I'm fine. Great! Then let's go. Mion is waiting. Reina showed me her usual bright smile. Couldn't find any hint of deceit in her expression. My nervousness dissipated, giving way to relief. God, the fact that the story that like stopped there, I was expecting it to turn bad. But you see, Stoko was so insistent she could do it. As we were walking, Reina talked about a lot of different stuff, more so than usual. Then? Stoko was clumsy, so she failed no matter how many times she tried. Oh, she was so cute. Everything Reina talked about was just silly nonsense, so I replied every so often and laughed from time to time. It was a rather laid-back conversation. We passed by one of our neighbours and they called out to us. Oh my, Keiichi and Reina, aren't you two a bit late today? Mion said she was going on ahead. Uh-oh, did Mion look mad, I wonder? I wonder. We need to hurry up, Keiichi. As we smiled and parted ways with our neighbour, they turned back towards me and stuck out a tongue. Not expecting that, I couldn't help but crack a smile. Keiichi smiled. What? Reina stopped and stared at me. I was thinking you still hadn't recovered from your cold since you seemed down this morning, Keiichi, but now you seem fine. Fine? With a groan, she gently poked my cheek. It's a bright, sincere smile. Hey, Keiichi. How can you still doubt Reina after she shows you a smile like that? Maybe just had a high fever up until today, and I imagined everything I thought happened because I was bedridden and delirious. Really hope that was the case. If God would grant me just one wish, it would be to have a back that doesn't hunch when I sit at my computer. There's only one thing I'd wish for. What would happen in the past few days? More specifically, from the night of the Higurashi up until last night. I wanted all of that to have never happened. I wonder how many times I'd wished for this these past few days. As long as Reina kept on smiling like this, I think it might just become reality. So I wanted Reina to keep on smiling. Keep on smiling. So Keiichi. Those mochi yesterday, did you eat them all? That vain wish of mine was instantly shattered. My heart began palpitating. Relaxed morning mood suddenly became frigid. Reina's smile was the same as usual. Her eyes were gentle as usual. Those mochi yesterday, did you eat them all? Of course she wasn't asking the question at face value. In other words, Reina was asking, did you get the message? She was probably trying to convey that... Keiichi? I was reluctant to give an answer. Reina stopped walking and stared deeply into my eyes. Don't hesitate, Keiichi Maebara. Reina was acting the same as always, wasn't she? Needed to respond in my usual way. Naturally, of course. Both my throat and my mouth had gone dry and my lips were stuck together. Hurry and answer, Keiichi. Not that much time had passed. I could still keep the conversation going naturally. I had to say something quickly. Dare? Reina playfully mimicked what I said when I finally squeaked something out. Reina's reaction was still normal. Seems there wasn't that as long of a pause as I'd thought. Somehow, I finally squeaked out the rest. Delicious. However, my strained efforts never sullied nor brightened Reina's expression. For a moment I panicked, thinking I'd replied incorrectly. But after a few moments, Reina broke into her usual soft smile and giggled with a joyful voice that seemed to echo through the morning air. Being strong-lunged by that laugh, I couldn't help but laugh as well. I see. So did you eat all of them, I wonder? My timid smile froze again. Did she make it without swallowing the sewing needle? Was that what she was asking? If I'd swallowed it, I wouldn't be here. Nah, I couldn't finish all of them. There's still some left. I scared out my wits, but that's how I played it. Huh? What about the homework to see if you could tell which one Reina made? That homework. Was it due today? Yeah, it's due today. Leon will get angry. It's probably a penalty getting ready for you. We both laughed at each other again. To a casual observer, it was just a typical morning. If I could just let myself believe, then even I'd think it was just the usual morning routine. But I was certain I wasn't mistaken. There was something unimaginable buried beneath the facade of this giggling Reina. Lies! I recalled the unexpected piercing voice that I could hardly believe came from Reina's mouth. The moment that image crossed my mind, I felt a cold sweat trickle down my back. I have a question, completely unrelated. Do they have the same voice actors in all of the expansions for the 07th mod? Because if so, I might try it out with this one to see whether I would like them or not. But if I don't like the voice acting, I'll just keep doing it myself. I don't mind reading out a lot. Was it only at that particular time that something evil had possessed Reina? No, that was wrong. It was still Reina. Mr. Oishi told me, didn't he? Actually, I looked into her. Before she moved to Ryogo, she was suspended from school. It seemed she went through a school building and broke all the windows. Reina had a disorder that normal people didn't. No matter how pleasantly she smiled, that fact would not change. But I couldn't even imagine how she looked as she broke all the glass throughout the school. One thing I knew is that it wasn't something spur of the moment. There was some sudden outburst of anger, then maybe she'd break a pane or two, but she broke all of the windows all throughout the school. Just imagine going through even in school, breaking the windows with a bat. God, that's such a good idea. Wish I could have done that. Sound effect made me jump. Let me restart my heart real quick. Swinging full force at each pane of glass, one after another, paying no heed to the flying shards. Your classmates aghast, unable to move from the sudden turn of events. Wondered where she could have found most windows lined up in a row. Probably the hallway. It was difficult for me to connect that horrifying image with the Reina smiling at me right now, but I just had to imagine it. Impossible because it was unimaginable. That naive way of thinking no longer worked. The pleasant piercing sound of shattered glass, the crunching noise as Reina treads across the broken shards, walking towards me. Reina's classmates going pale as they forget to even breathe. Wonder what they did as Reina came closer, breaking windows along her path. Did they only try to bring her to her senses by saying something? Did they jump at her, trying to stop her savagery? Did they run to the staff room after being directed there by teachers? Probably none of those. In the face of that blood-curdling sight, of Reina blocking window after window, undoubtedly all they could do was silently clear a path for her. Dumbfounded, just clearing a path for Reina to continue. It was far too violent an act for them to seek refuge by looking the other way. It's not to say they were looking the other way. They were doing the only thing they could do to protect themselves. If they'd done something differently from the rest, they may have suddenly found themselves as Reina's new target. What would Reina have done to those who attracted her attention? The answer was obvious. She would have undoubtedly acted according to her whims. Meaning I would, be the next window. Reina staring into my eyes, shards of glass crunching and crackling underfoot. She drew closer. Was also drawn into her eyes, paralysed. Then Reina struck me with a bat, over and over, like I was one of those windows. I crouched down on the floor, desperately protecting my head. Reina didn't care whether it was my head or my back. Zealously, she hits me again and again. What kind of expression was she making as she was doing this over and over again? Peered up to see. Her expression was so indifferent, it was completely unnerving. It's because no matter how many times she struck me, I didn't make as pleasant a sound as the other windows. I'm distracted by these things moving as you click. She struck me continuously, over and over again. Sound Reina wanted didn't come out. Our classmates standing around didn't try to stop her. They didn't want to be the next window. Somebody save me. Turning a blind eye and less hanging out? Of course, everyone in class struggled to obtain the higher standardized test scores. They gained nothing from saving cram school try-hard like me. Ugh. Eventually there'd be a faint sound, similar to when you crack open a walnut, and some sort of reddish-black spray would shoot out. Anyway, it wasn't that Reina momentarily lost herself in her anger. After forcing myself to breathe and calming down my heart, I recalled what Mr. Oishi told me. In Cancer's medical report, he reported all the conversations he had with Reina. It shows up. Quite a bit at that. What does... She mentioned the word Oyashiro-sama. Following that, Reina was suspended and regular examinations at the hospital. Then, as she was undergoing counselling, she said it over and over. Oyashiro-sama. Seems that the Oyashiro-sama she spoke of was like a ghost appearing in her house every night, standing over her pillow looking down at her. That was only a piece of the conversation, so I still couldn't see the big picture, but it was by no means a happy little conversation. Sounds like sleep paralysis to me. Then what Reina did, was she saying that ghastly incident was a result of her being possessed by Oyashiro-sama? I didn't want to believe in Oyashiro-sama's curse. That's why I wanted to say the mysterious deaths every year happened because of some sort of conspiracy. Every time I talked with Mr. Oishi, it was more certain the deaths were the work of men and not some curse, except if it was people perpetrating the incidents. My friends were somehow deeply connected. I refused to believe that the curse was real, then I'd have to believe that those who acted the kindest to me were deeply involved. Why? How? For what reason? Was Reina? Was everybody? It was much more painful and troublesome than accepting it was just Oyashiro's curse. In the aftermath, Reina admitted to a doctor it was because she was possessed by Oyashiro-sama. Felt strange chains of relief from that. So that's how it was. There wasn't a second side to Reina. She did that because she was possessed by something strange, like Oyashiro-sama. It wasn't Reina's fault. Oyashiro-sama was the one to blame. I knew this was all backwards. Refusing to believe there was a curse, I wanted there to be a human perpetrator. Now that my close friends were the ones under suspicion, I changed my beliefs at my inconvenience, saying it was Oyashiro-sama's curse to blame. Which was the better choice? Accepting that Oyashiro-sama's curse exists, or that Reina and the rest of them were deeply involved in the string of mysterious deaths. I didn't want to think about it. If I just didn't think about it, I'd be able to continue the same as always. I wanted to believe that, but that was no longer possible. I'd received their message. It was pathetic of me to try and bend the meaning to my inconvenience. Regardless of my opponent being a human or a curse, I won't let it kill me. As if I would just bend over and give in, for no good reason at all. Keiichi, you've been making a really weird face. Why, I wonder. Inhaling sharply upon hearing Reina's voice, I came back to my senses. For realistic, we were already at the entrance. Shaking my head a few times, I exercised all those terrifying thoughts. No matter how you looked at it, there's no way Reina could have done such terrible things. It was like I was trying to placate myself. As I slid the door open, a blackboard eraser loaded with chalk dropped down on my head the moment I stepped into the classroom. Chalk dust went into my ears, inducing a brief moment of agony. Oh, how befitting for the truth, Keiichi. Good morning to both of you, Keiichi and Reina. Good morning, Satoko Rika. Not quite in the mood for it, I didn't really react to Satoko's trap. Satoko braced herself as I passed by, expecting me to attack her. She seemed a bit disappointed as I simply walked by silently. What is this? How discouraging indeed. Keiichi doesn't seem back to his usual self yet. Yeah, take it easy on him for today, Kei? Suddenly there was a slap down on my shoulder. It hurt a bit. Hey, Keiichi, did you get enough rest? It was Mion. My mind was full with the stuff about Reina, but Mion was also a party of interest. Remember, Keiichi, that hawkish gaze from yesterday? Yeah, morning. What's with that energetic greeting? Did you eat the mochi I brought you? Because I ate them, I'm like this. Those words were itching to be blurted out. I really just didn't have the appetite. I ate a few, but quite a lot were left over. Huh? What about the homework? Do you have an answer for which one was Reina's? I can't believe you'd forget your homework, Keiichi. Sheesh, then we can't help it. Time for your penalty. Flashing a lurid smile, Rian returned to her seat. There was nothing from our exchanges that would cause our classmates to suspect anything was amiss, but, of course, anyone listening to conversations up until this morning wouldn't see anything suspicious. That was why it was so frightening. They acted in a way that, regardless of whatever happened to Keiichi, no one would ever suspect them. That fact had me terrified. Soon the teacher came. After she asked how I felt and took attendance, another dull, ordinary day began. Dull, ordinary, not dull, ordinary, as I said, because I spaced out as I was reading. Oh, apologies. I'm not bored, I'm just really tired all the time. Free study period was a convenient time to consider where I stood. Get into the mouse into the right spot. Gently closed my eyes and pondered the ridiculous position I was in right now. First of all, what I shouldn't forget was how dangerous a situation I was in. I'd fallen out of favour with them. After interacting with Mr. Oishi multiple times, I could see it as I was getting closer to the heart of the matter. The warning yesterday with the mochi was a good indicator of that. No, calling it a warning was just my habit of understating things. Probably had no meaning beyond stunting my progress and buying themselves some time, until they had a method of completely erasing me. They were just biding their time. Even though they were keeping under their thumb with threats, it didn't change the fact I knew too much. Chilling sensation on my desk made me recall Satoshi, the boy who was using this seat until last year when he disappeared. Was he also similar to me? Did he learn something he shouldn't have and was erased? Damn, I wouldn't let them get rid of me so easily. Never. But were they really trying to kill me? I've had these contradictory feelings for a while now. Even though I suspected them, I felt I had to cover for them. With all their suspicious behaviour, and running like this just made it all seem like an elaborate hoax. No, that's just what I want to believe. Doubting my friends? Covering for them? My life was in danger, or was it? Actually, I was debating the wrong point. Given my current situation, those points were something that should have been deliberated a long time ago. But really, Reina and the rest of them, were they actually aiming to kill me? The little voice inside me continued to torment me with his unresolvable trains of thought. Are you an idiot, Keiichi Mabara? The answer should be obvious. But maybe that sewing needle might have been just an accident, right? How could you screw up and drop a sewing needle into a piece of mochi? Benefit of that can only go so far. Both Reina and Mion had acted and behaved suspiciously, but maybe it was some sort of misunderstanding. Kind of misunderstanding. It wasn't just suspicious, it was outright ludicrous, right? Raina just corrected me for lying, and Mion only asked me about what I had for lunch. Raina was standing outside our door eavesdropping for a good hour, you know? She was probably just waiting for my phone call to end. For a whole hour outside your room? And is it normal to go home afterwards without saying anything? You heard from Mr. Oishi, didn't you? About what Raina did at her former school? But at the hospital she said it was Oyashiro-sama's fault. She... Cut it out, Keiichi Maebara. Don't you realize they're out to kill you? Inadvertently blurted those words out loud. Hearing myself say that so directly left me dumbfounded for a few moments. Afterwards, I had to look around to check if anyone else had heard. My little soliloquy got a little close to the truth. Even though I could feel the murderous intent from the others, part of me somewhere was still trying to deny that. The state in the game, such hesitation could be fatal. I knew that, but I was just your average student, a man living his normal, ordinary life. Do you think I could suddenly believe that my friends who had been happily laughing together with up until last Sunday now intended to kill me, right? You're too soft, Keiichi. This time, I remembered to keep my voice down so only I could hear it. There was one thing I now understood. I was too soft. I didn't completely understand how dangerous Raina and the rest of them were. No, I wasn't trying to understand. I was too soft for not listening to Mr. Oishi when he was earnestly showing me the heart of the matter. Didn't listen because I was too busy pretending to be dejected. I didn't comprehend it. I was just running away. I didn't comprehend it, so nobody had any notion to try and kill me. I needed to get rid of such naive thoughts. As I made that resolution, I heard the bell ringing at the end of class. So soon. The day was already over. Didn't recall eating lunch or doing anything in class. My friends were putting the desk together in preparation for club activities. Not long ago, I'd probably have happily jumped into that circle. My, Keiichi. How rude of you to even think about leaving. The way Stoko spoke was so typical and familiar, it almost physically hurt. Huh? Keiichi, is today not a good day, I wonder? And we were going to win big together. Seeing Raina's expression, which said she was really looking forward to today, was hard to take. Hey, Keiichi, maybe Mr. Oishi is just some enormous jerk trying to separate me from the others by lying to me? Slap. Trying to expunge that weak-minded thinking, I slapped myself in the face. Keiichi? Was Raina really trying to kill me? Wish someone would tell me it was a hoax. I didn't care if it actually was one or not. I just wanted someone to say it was. God, yet another weak-willed thought. How'd I ever become this naive? Are you alright? Does your head hurt? Apparently that was how my inner dilemma appeared to Raina. You're pale. Can you not make it home by yourself? Maybe I should accompany you home, I wonder. No, it's okay, sorry. I can get home by myself. Just have the meeting without me. Upon hearing that I wasn't going to participate in the club meeting, Mion pouted unhappily. Since Keiichi was so bent on a revenge match, were you even going to play that deduction game from before too? Keiichi doesn't have the burning desire for a rematch? How pathetic. I wouldn't fall for some dumb taunt. Without even a real retort, I just grabbed my bag and was about to get up. Someone's hand touched itself gently on my head. Keiichi doesn't seem to be well. How very unfortunate. It was Rika. She was stretched up as far as she could, doing her best to pat my head with her petite hand. Felt so nice, which made things even harder. Sorry, everybody. See you. That's all I said as I quickly left the classroom. I said something to me as I was leaving, but I couldn't make it out. Managed to make it all the way to the entrance in that state of mind. Took out my shoes, put them on, and went forward. Forward? Harden that heart, Keiichi Maebara. They were, for some unfathomable reason, trying to kill me. They were plotting something dubious, watching my every move. But I couldn't hate them, because weren't they my friends? Part of me lamented my naivete, while another part lamented the fact that I'd lost something important by lamenting over it in the first place. Felt like a consciousness was being ripped out of my body. This is what Oyashiro-sama's curse was like? Then it was just too harsh. Hey, Oyashiro-sama, I was wrong for not believing in your curse, but I believed in it now. Here's a thing, by the way, I do say Oyashiro-sama because saying like Lord or Lady Oyashiro feels weird and I don't know their gender, so I don't want to say it. Whereas I will still say like Mr. or Ms. for San and like cut out some of the other things just because it feels weird. Like, if I knew that Oyashiro was a lady demon, I would probably call her Lady Oyashiro, but I don't know that yet, question mark, so... Completely. Your curse does exist. Seriously, give me a break. I beg you, come on. Dinner was unusually bland. Oops. It had no flavour or aroma. The miso soup that normally tantalised my appetite instead tasted like nothing but boiled water. Dad was eating with us that night. It was a rare occurrence in this household. When he got into his work, he ate and slept on his own schedule. My dad never cared about the time. Since my dad was at the dinner table, it either meant he just reached a good point to take a break, or he was in a slump. So yeah, he just doesn't understand the motivation creators have. Partnership was just a verbal agreement, wasn't it? It's so hard to agree on things, why not just end it? I feel like it's an industry with a lot of back scratching, but when it gets in the way of business, I wasn't able to pick up much of my mum and dad's conversation, but I could tell it wasn't a very pleasant topic. That of course made the disgusting food even less appealing. Staring listlessly at the exchange between my parents, my mind wandered off to the same thought processes I had going all day long. Friends close to me. No, they used to be my friends, but I can no longer trust them. Right now I was greatly lacking in allies. People I trusted, people I could depend on when push came to shove. There was something I just didn't have. Having just one ally would have been incredibly reassuring in the current situation I was in. Put down my chopsticks and looked over at my parents, who were still talking about work. First course of action that came to mind was to tell my parents everything. Currently there wasn't a single person from Hinamizawa I could trust 100%. That meant the only people I could trust were my parents. But if I told them everything that happened up until now, would they understand? Reina, for example. That neighbourly Reina, who was so diligent in looking after me, came to get me every day and sometimes brought over a share of what she made. How would I explain that she wanted to kill me? No matter how I explained, it would probably be difficult for anybody to comprehend. My somewhat-eccentric dad wouldn't understand, and my high-strung mum would probably drag me off to a psychiatrist in the blink of an eye. Sadly, that was the amount of trust that existed in our relationship. Even if they did come to understand, what could they possibly do? Unless they could uncover the truth, they wouldn't be able to protect me. No, by informing these unnecessary things, I'd be putting my parents in danger as well. Considering that victims in past incidents were often married couples, I couldn't even joke about it. For the entire Mayberry family to have an accident or to just vanish into thin air, it was easily possible in Hinamizawa. What was important here was that knowing something unnecessary put you in danger. The most unsettling question was, how did they know that I knew? As long as they didn't know, my parents might not fall victim. That was one way to think about it, I guess. At least it wasn't like that in my case. After I found out, things started becoming odd. In other words, it meant the following. As long as my parents didn't know anything, nothing would happen to them. As long as my parents were here, this house would be a safe haven for them. I knew these were just assumptions based on conjecture on top of conjecture. Wanting this house to be a safe haven, that was the pinnacle of my weak-willed method of thinking. I had to concede it was not completely safe. It was only safer than the outside. I knew that I couldn't rely on my parents. No, I couldn't risk getting my parents involved. The only person who could be my ally would be Mr. Oishi. Him and him alone. He was the only person who understood the situation I was in. He didn't care so much about my safety, but he was without a doubt passionate about solving this case. It was a bit frustrating. Mr. Oishi was basically the whole reason I was in this mess. Now to get out of it, I had to rely on him. Meaning it was all going according to his devices. It was just my job to look appetizing while bobbing in the waves as bait. Then when the fish started gathering around, Mr. Oishi would pull up a big haul. Slightly infuriating, but even I thought that was the best course of action. Then what should I do? Patience was the first rule of fishing. Just keep waiting until the fish actually bites. But I wasn't simply bait. There were lots of ways for me to struggle before being devoured. When they struck, I needed to somehow dodge just enough and tag out to Mr. Oishi. No question it was going to be hard. Timing to bring Mr. Oishi in would be difficult. He was in the city, not Hinamizawa, so if I phoned him in my moment of need, it would take him about 30 minutes to reach me. So I needed to run away for those 30 minutes. For example, if he set up a rendezvous point for dire situations or something, I just have to hide out there until Mr. Oishi arrived. Okay, I can almost see it now. Still being chased around in the dark by boogeymen, but I now knew which way to go. I would never have imagined this to be so reassuring. Oh yeah, probably be best if I had a concealed weapon for when things got rough. Typically that would call for a switchblade, but that wasn't too reassuring for combat. Also, since it was recognised as a weapon by the public, that also wasn't good. Really, when the time comes, a long weapon like a bat would work in my favour. Remember there was a metal bat at school. Could be confident with that when push came to shove. If I pretended I was practising my swing, then it wouldn't be suspicious for me to always carry it around. I could go to school early tomorrow and secure it. Just possessing a weapon may be enough to deter them. Also, one more thing. Insurance. Could be something like a note or memo. Could write down everything that's happened as a sort of journal. In case I suddenly vanished, the journal would be left behind. With my journal in his possession, Mr. Oishi should be able to avenge my death. Left my parents engrossed in the conversation about work and went back to my room. I'm gonna pause super quickly to turn my fire on because it's really cold in my flat. One of the joys of a gas fire is that you spend several minutes, or seconds rather, holding down the lighter hoping it will catch. I think it's caught. Yeah, I think it has. Sometimes it doesn't catch properly, and that's really unnerving. I tore out a piece of paper from the notebook and made my way to my desk. Last time I wrote a journal was for summer homework in elementary school. In the off chance something bad happened, the police could use my diary as a lead, so I should only write down the facts. How should I start? I jotted down my thoughts as they came. I, Kichi Maibara, am in fear for my life. Made me laugh nervously. It was something that showed up often in detective stories. Never even dreamed that I would be in the type of situation where I'd write it myself. I don't know why they're after my life. Reina and the others were suspicious, but I had no proof, and that's why I couldn't write anything more. I laughed right at myself for writing such a passage draped in mystery. Would the police be able to get a hint from reading this enigmatic passage? I could only pray that they would. What I prayed for the most, though, was that this journal never needed to play its part. Here, I laughed nervously. It's too simple, so I wrote down one more line I just thought of. The only thing I do know is that it has to do with Oyashiro-sama's curse. Is that too much? Probably shouldn't write more than that. If I wrote any more, that would seem like I was just delusional. In order to appear to the reader that the person who'd written this was of sound mind, I chose not to write anything else at that point. What bugs me out is that he hasn't, he could have at any point just said, hell, he could have rung up Mr. Oishi and said, hey, I can't have a long conversation with you real quick, but just so you know, my friends came by and dropped off some mochi, and one of them had a sewing needle in it, and I can't tell if they intended me to swallow it and be hurt, or to not swallow it, see it as a threat, but I wanted you to know it was these two, just in case anything happens. And I'd write it down here as well, you don't need to say it was in Reina's mochi. You could just say, my friends Reina and Mion brought along a mochi. I don't know what the meaning was. Also, I don't know if it was intentional. If it was, on the off chance that a sewing needle, fell into it, then never mind. But, if it was deliberate, what the fuck? Just write that down, because that is a bona fide fact that there was a mochi with a sewing needle in it that came from these two girls. Just need to add more as I learn more about the truth. Folded the paper and thought about a place to hide it. By hiding it somewhere obvious, there was a chance that they would uncover it instead. On the other hand, if it was in too obscure a location, there was the risk of nobody finding it at all. Keep looking over at my fire nervously to see if it's caught. In the end, I decided to take the clock off my wall and stick my folded note on the back of it with scotch tape. After that, I put the clock back into its normal position. Yeah, didn't look like anything was hidden behind it. Now I needed to set it up such that if anything happens to me, my parents could find it. Looked at it from countless different angles until I was satisfied and made my way downstairs. My parents were still talking about work. Didn't look like it was going to end anytime soon, so I cut in. Sorry to interrupt. I have something I want to talk to you about. Never started off a conversation like that before, so my parents were both startled. They stopped talking and turned towards me. What is it, Keiichi? I have a favour to ask of you. Please listen. Just in case, yeah? It's not urgent. Can we do this later? Right now, Mummy and Daddy have something urgent they're talking about. Didn't think their talk was more urgent than mine. In any case, I stated my request. Just in case, okay? If I die... Both of my parents' eyes went wide as saucers. If I die, I want you to put the clock on my wall in my coffin. If they did that, they'd probably find it. Oh, no worries, Lynn. I know the feeling. I hope it's going well. I keep thinking about, editing these, but then I remember the effort of editing several, 2.5 hour long videos is more than I have time or energy for, so... But yeah, no, I definitely know the feeling. I hope you managed to resolve it. Video editing is a difficult skill that I am bad at. Okay, so both my parents remained wide-eyed, not moving an inch. Couldn't blame them. I made that clock in shop class and I really like it, so please. What's the matter? Keiichi, did something happen? Mum was finally able to ask me with a questioning gaze. Also, Lynn, you've missed a whole bunch of stuff. So we found out that all of the deaths and disappearances that have been happening over the last 5 years are related to our friends. And also... Yeah, I know that feel. I know. Yeah. Brain shorting out. Help. Exactly, right? Then two of them came over yesterday in game because we were ill, and they dropped off some mochi, and one of the mochi had a sewing needle in it. That's right, I had a sewing needle in me, and Keiichi ate me. I shouldn't have said that out loud. I regret it already. But yeah, it was a pretty bad time, I have to say. Not great. And so we've just written a note, an incredibly obscure, stupid note that I disagree with, and hidden it behind a clock. And now we've told our parents, if I die, put the clock in my coffin, which is the most bizarre way of, like... This kid's not very smart. I understand he's descending into, like, paranoid mania, but this kid's also really not very smart. Of course, it was a normal response when someone suddenly talked about a subject like this. Felt bad about making them worry, but right now I just want him to think about the clock in my room. With the awkward mood leaving the room in silence, I decided to go back up to my room. I want to get to school early tomorrow, so I'm going to bed. Good night. Saying only that, I left the living room. I need to get to school early tomorrow and secure that bat. I should make today the last day I went to school with Raina. As it kind of says, I heard my mum call my name, but I pretended not to hear her. It wasn't something I could talk about with my parents. If I talked about it, it would only make things more dangerous. The fight that had begun was mine and mine alone. I couldn't rely on anybody. I wouldn't be killed. Not when I still knew nothing. Oh, fucking same then. Like, it will work, Nagels. It's just also kind of, at the same time, really dumb, if you ask me. But hey, nobody did, so... This is true. This is a thing I keep telling myself about the writing of this game, is that, it is, like, to me, feels really off, but it's, like, a writing style typical of games like this, and that's what I'm trying to remember. Like, it's not meant to be realistic, because, you know, it wouldn't be. Keiichi's been feeling down lately. Maybe he's in a bad mood. I wonder, maybe he's on his period. Neon, that's gross. What do you think? Don't know. Could it be that Keiichi, maybe? I don't know. That day, Keiichi was in that car talking to some tubby middle-aged guy, right? Guy, not gay. Although, you never know. No mistake. That Oishi probably fed him something fishy. So serious. Keiichi's face was so pale. You see, you might not know this, but he's actually the messenger of a Yashiro-sama. Huh? What do you mean? Whenever he shows up, someone is demoned away. No lie. Oh, is that so? Year before last when Rika's mum drowned, right? Right before that, she was visited by Oishi. Now that you mentioned it, it happened before Satoshi transferred out. Transferred? You're so sweet, Reina. So this time he appeared before Keiichi. So Keiichi's going to be demoned away too? An empty silence hung in the air, and then it was suddenly interrupted by loud laughter. Big, unnerved feelings. That's okay. That's how it be. Let's continue with chapter 11. This is the first time I'd ever woken with such clarity. 5:59, just moments before my alarm would go off. I was amazed at the precision of my internal clock. I'd made preparations for the next day of school before I went to bed, changed quickly and descended to the deserted lower floor. It appeared that my mum was still asleep. Neither breakfast nor lunch was ready. Yesterday I just unilaterally declared that I would be leaving early today, so it couldn't be helped. Just had the jam into some bread and topped it with instant cocoa. Just as I was finishing up breakfast, Mum rose groggily from her slumber. For a hot second, I thought this guy meant that he put hot chocolate on top of his jam bread. Hi Keiichi, you're up early. Is there some sort of school event? Not really. Answering promptly, I picked up my bag and stood after stuffing 2 slices of bread down my throat. Leaving already? What about lunch? If you don't wait a bit, I can't make it. If I waited for her to make my lunch, it would end up being the same as usual. If I did that, it would erase the chances of me running into Reina and Mion on the way. From today onwards, I was going to go to school alone. Be fine for today. What will you do for lunch? I'll slip out and buy some bread or something at the store. Really? Then here's some lunch money. Be sure to bring me back the receipt. Took the 1,000 yen bill from Mum and slipped it into my pocket. Pretty early. Is Reina up this early as well? No, just me. Did you tell Reina that you're leaving early? I've no reason to tell her every little detail now, do I? Finding it difficult answering the onslaught of questions, I made an annoyed face. To Raina that I ran ahead when she comes. Hey, Keiichi, wait! It's not that I didn't trust my parents. I just couldn't rely on them. They couldn't help me. I could only hope that they didn't get involved. It was safer that way. Mum's annoying voice was cut off by the slam of the door. For the first time since I moved here, I headed down the road to school alone. Oh, Keiichi. Up until now, I'd always walked down the same path at the same time each day, so always met with the same people at the same places. Today was different. I didn't meet the people I would normally meet, and nobody was at the places where I would have normally met them. Of course, Raina wasn't in the spot where we usually met, and there wasn't anyone at the spot we would have met up with me on. The length of the tree shadows, the morning air, and the brightness of the sun was a completely different type of morning from what I was used to. Without a doubt, it felt strange. Left me with the impression that I destroyed the illusion Hinamizawa had set up for me before I had enough time to prepare all the props it needed to deceive me. My Keiichi, you're so early today. Is everyone meeting early this morning? The person who called out to me was someone who we always passed by as they were taking a walk along the edge of the fields. The name was, I forgot. Of course, this wasn't the spot we usually passed each other. I woke up early today, so I thought it would be a good change of pace. That's all. Threw out a random excuse. What about Raina and Mion? Are you by yourself today? Well, yeah. I was being asked the same type of questions my mum was asking, so I answered them in the same uninteresting, vague manner. It wasn't funny being asked where Raina was each time I passed by someone. Maybe it was to be expected. It was because for so long we were always together so amicably. Even I felt that if I let guard down, we could still be... Stop it, Keiichi. Don't think about that anymore. Spent all day yesterday thinking about how dangerous it was to go soft, didn't you? Beep beep. Car horn blared out of nowhere. Even though I was walking lost in thought, that horn was way too close. Mechanical behemoth barreled at me from behind, catching me completely off guard. By the time I turned around, the van's hulking chassis was almost on top of me. It seemed plenty of cars veered to the opposite shoulder to avoid pedestrians, but this car was doing the opposite. It felt like there was somebody on the opposite shoulder and the van was swerving in my direction to avoid them. This really ignorant train of thought delayed me from realising something much, much more important. A large mass was hurtling right at me. Was it going to hit me? Inside of my head instantly flooded with a painfully cold liquid. That moment, the scene before me, no, time itself had frozen. In silence of that frozen moment, I compared the van, so close I had no way to dodge it, and my body, the upper half twisted awkwardly in order to look behind me. There was no way I could dive out of the way in my current position. If I lost focus now, this moment would unpause and I'd probably be ploughed over, caught in this silly pose. Then my upper body over towards the paddy by the side of the road. If I bent far enough, I'd get away with just being hit by the side view mirror. As soon as the thought crossed my mind, temporal stasis was shattered by the deafening sound of the van. The side mirror struck my shoulder, sending me spinning off through the air like a top, locked in my vaunted position. Kersplash. Sent tumbling through the air, I crashed into the muddy paddy by the side of the road. My entire body was soiled and drenched, but the choice I'd made in that instant was unmistakably for the best. It was covered in mud, but with the alternative as being hit by the car, it was the closest I could be to being unscathed. Rising out from the paddy, I had enough of me to glare over at the stopped van and yell profanities at the driver. Not sure he was able to see me, but the van sped off suddenly. Wait, damn it! This is what they call a hit and run, wasn't it? Couldn't help but continue yelling out profanities. The straight from being covered in mud hurt me more than any physical wounds. Slogged through the muddy paddy and made my way back onto the road. This is a crime, goddammit. Shit, I'll track you down and sue you. If I go looking for a van, I'm sure to find it in this little village. The path I was on had rice paddies on either side, and it had become so narrow that a car could barely fit through. It wasn't a place you could tear full speed in a car, let alone pass by pedestrians. Not only was it a narrow road, but the car just now was closer to my side of the road when the other one went past me. Even as I cursed, I was desperately trying to suppress the dark cold boiling up within inside me. Within inside me? Yep, that's the phrase I was looking for. It wasn't just a hit and run. That car just now was trying to run me over, wasn't it? Thinking back, I did feel like there had been a car creeping up on me slowly for a while. That's right, as soon as I parted ways with that person taking a walk, I had that feeling the whole time. It wanted to pass me. I had no shortage of chances. Normally I would have felt suspicious and turned around sooner, but I was lost in thought, was now kicking myself for not realising it was there sooner. Then, when the path became narrow and there was no one else in sight, I floored it. If I'd hesitated for even a moment, the result would have been no laughing matter. As the adrenaline rush from nearly being run over subsided and the realisation of just how terrifying the preceding events were sunk in, there was no doubt about it. That van was intentionally trying to hit me. A cold, viscous sweat seeped from my scalp and slid down my back before dribbling off. I struggled to avoid falling into a panic. There was still the possibility this was really just an accident. Calm down, Keiichi. But also don't be so naive, Keiichi. Being that lax will get you killed next time. You need to always be on your toes. Don't give them any openings. my enemy was really out to kill me, the next time they would use a more reliable method. That time came and I was acting like I was now. I, being covered in mud, was the price I had to pay for my own naivete. Covered in mud, but without mud, without injury, not even a sprain. Guess that was what you call the silver lining. Began walking again, this time cautiously. Wouldn't even show a hint of carelessness. I suspected only Rain and the others up until now. No, it's because I'd suspected them that I'd believe they were not their enemies. Mr. Higurashi had said so, didn't he? There was a possibility that all the families of the village were involved. Was I really mired so deeply in this situation that I had no choice but to try and carry on as usual? Wouldn't it be safest to just hold myself up in my house? But the moment I abandoned my regular routine, everyone around me would abandon theirs as well. That was just too horrifying of a thought. Recall the tales Mr. Higurashi told me of when he and Amizawa was called Onikakushi. A frightening tale of an entire village of demons hunting their prey, surrounding them and eating them alive. One must not interfere with the demons. One must not pretend to see it. Must pretend not to see it, rather. Enemy were numerous, all the village families. Villagers with an unwavering faith in the curse would do nothing to help me. A strong sudden flash of sunshine made me slightly dizzy. I had no idea what was going on anymore. When I suspected it was the worker man, I would catch a glimpse of Yashiro-sama's curse. When I suspected it was Yashiro-sama's curse, someone would poke their head out. What was coincidence? What was intentional? Who was my enemy? Who was just a bystander? No, what I really truly wanted to know was, how did I end up with the proverbial bullseye painted on my back? Eventually, an answer in a form I can understand will not appear. I don't care when that will happen, because until then, I cannot die. That alone fueled my resolve to fight and will keep me alive. I think I may have started reading things wrong because I'm starting to zone out a bit, so I do apologise for that. What you're getting now is Mochi's garbled reading of the Higurashi series. I remember seeing the metal bat in the gym storage shed, but there was a padlock on the door barring my entry. At the very least, I wanted to get my hands on it before everyone else arrived at school. Circled around the school grounds impatiently. But all I could find were things like pieces of lumber, nothing I could bring into a classroom easily. Then I had an epiphany. I should search inside the classroom. If it was something in the classroom to begin with, then there wouldn't be a problem. Could tell that everyone's indoor shoes were still in their lockers. Good thing I came early. No one else was here yet. Wondered, what could I find in the classroom? Didn't think I'd find an especially effective weapon like that, but couldn't be helped at this point. Till the gym storage shed was open, I needed to find a substitute. The lingering hint of naivete whispered that there was no way I'd be attacked at school, but such soft ideas would no longer protect me. To think that they were slowly making their way into parts of my life that I'd once thought impenetrable. In the worst case, my own house might not be safe anymore. That was an incredibly frightening thought, but I believe that not considering the worst case scenario would have been even more frightening. Anyways, I will survive. As long as I lived, then I will definitely be able to escape this labyrinth of nonsense. Definitely. My exploration of the classroom came to an impasse. That much was to be expected. There was no way there'd be anything that could be a weapon in the classroom. In case of emergency, there was probably nothing I could do but swing my own chair around. Good parent scissors will do it. My gaze landed on the lockers that come to be used for personal storage. The locker that Mion used to store her pile of games was amongst them. There was one for each person in the class all lined up. Of course, there was one for me as well. Oh yeah, there was supposed to still be a tracksuit in my locker. Seeing me covered in mud would be strange. Should go and change later. First, I needed a weapon. If one of my classmates came in, it would be hard to rummage through all the lockers. So I began opening the lockers one by one, mostly just filled with things like gym clothes, personal items, and umbrellas. An umbrella? If I couldn't find anything better, then this would have to be my weapon. I was about to give up on finding anything decent when I opened up a locker that held exactly what I wanted. It was, without doubt, a metal bat. It was well worn and pretty beaten up, but there was no doubt it was usable. In a locker that reeked of mould, there also hung a baseball uniform. Baseball! It's probably the locker of a student in a Pee-wee league or something like that. If that was the case, then he'd probably asked for it back. That time I could hear the voices of the children scuffling their way noisily in from the hallway. Amongst them I could make out Rika and Stoko. Good morning. My, you're quite early this morning, Keiichi. I nonchalantly hid the bat I was holding behind my back. What's with your outfit? You're covered in mud. Yeah, I had a little incident. I'm going to change now, so cut me some slack. That said, I began taking off my clothes. Stoko began to blush just as I expected her to. Changing in front of a lady. Have you no tact at all? Would think that a lady staring at someone who was changing would be the one lacking in tact. There's no changing room for the boys, so just deal with it. As Stoko feigned disgust, she went into the hall, still blushing. Conversely, Rika continued to stare at me, preparing to change. If Rika's a lady as well, then I don't think it would be appropriate for you to be watching. I'm not a lady, so it's fine. She deliberately pouted and looked at me with upturned eyes. Then, starting now, you're a lady. If I'm a lady, then I suppose I must. Rika, appearing to be satisfied with being considered a lady, made her way to join Sturko in the hallway. Just as I breathed a sigh of relief, Rika stopped suddenly and turned back towards me. Are you going to start playing baseball? Seems that Rika had noticed the bat. Yeah, just, was feeling a bit out of shape, so I thought I'd just try practicing my swing. Think it's wonderful you're taking care of your health. She was talking like an old lady, despite her appearance. Saying that, Rika started to leave again, but stopped and looked back at me once more. Please don't lose that bat. It seemed she already knew I took it out of someone's locker. There was no name on the locker door. Didn't know whose bat it was, but I would be borrowing it until they complained. Wouldn't be for long, just until the gym storage shed was opened. Too quickly changing into the tracksuit, I checked the time. Still had plenty of time before class began, because I came so early. I took the bat in one hand and went out to the schoolyard. Was, of course, to practice my swing. Need to make it known I would always have a bat on me, so I could practice my swing. Wink wonk. At some point, the sunlight would become even stronger. Disregarding my classmates as I made way to school, I took my position in the shadow of a school building. I wasn't the academic type, and I wasn't much of an athlete either. Might get muscle pain if I just suddenly started swinging. Should at least start out with some warm-ups. I doubt anyone would think I was doing something out of the ordinary, which was the exact opposite of my actual mental state. Gripped the bat and swung lightly. That was by no means light. Weight would make it a reliable weapon when I needed it to be. If I have to use a bat for any games like this, metal bats are the best. But my school banned it because somebody broke someone's, I think it was their tooth, it may have been something worse. So we had to use wooden bats when I played rounders in school, which is like baseball but for kids. That was the only sport I was anywhere near good at. And I was not very good at it, it has to be said. So, of course, I could only play it at the moment I need to use as a weapon would never come. Just carrying it around could deter attacks against me. At least that's what I hoped. Just watch out behind you. Huh? Keiichi? What are you doing? Being bombarded with such a hysterical voice, I jumped. Whoa, Keiichi, you on the baseball team? The baseball team? It was Reina and Mion. Surprised to hear you went off ahead. What are you doing, Keiichi? Can't you tell by looking? I'm practicing my swing for the championship. You can say it's part of my diet if you want. Diet? Keiichi, are you really that fat? Bet you didn't know. I actually have a beer belly. It's plump and jiggles. Plump and jiggles? Rena, you don't have to imagine something weird like that. Disrupt Reina from imagining something that vulgar. I ruffled her hair messily. Well then, hope you make it to regionals at least. Some man will cheer you on. Regionally speaking, it seems that Oshima High is pretty strong. Say their southpaw, Kameda, is amazing. Good luck! Seems they made me out as some kind of local prodigy, but oh well. Well, if I really did make it to championship, it would be a tinch. After all, I'd be the pitcher and catcher. Pitch the baseball, then run past that ball I just threw and change over to being the catcher in a burst of super incredible explosive speed. I laughed dryly at the ludicrous image. Coming back to my senses, I smashed the bat against the ground. Damn it! What am I laughing at? Pounded the ground over and over. With each impact, the reverberation travelling through the bat stung my hands. They made me smell like that. Don't allow anyone close to me. Don't trust anyone. No matter how many times I tell myself that. They made me smile like that. I already knew quite well there were demons dwelling in my smiling friends, but I just couldn't believe it. Did that kind of split personality really exist? Like how Reina confessed to the doctor? Were they simply being possessed by Oyashiro-sama? In other words, did a supernatural being like Oyashiro-sama really exist? And was it possessing everyone to try and kill me? Yeah, that would be wonderful. If only everyone were actually my friends all along, and everything was all just Oyashiro-sama's fault. Damn fool, Keiichi. Come on now. He yelled out, drawing all the power from the pit of my stomach, and raised the bat violently into the air. Stop being so soft. As I screamed out with all my might, I beat the metal bat into the ground over and over. Every impact, my weakness was being beaten down. Smash. Forget. Smash. Don't be soft. Smash. Know your enemy. Smash. Like hell I'd let them kill me. My shoulders heaving up and down, ragged breathing. I heard the first bell ring just as I calmed down. I'm gonna sneeze in a second. Possibly. Gasped with a sudden realization. That was the final bell. As I felt the tension drain from me, I let out a deep breath. My mind was in a muddled state for much of the entire day. I didn't feel like I was awake, but I didn't feel like I was asleep either. Couldn't say I felt especially comfortable, but it felt kind of relief that the sanctity of the school part of my daily life had yet to be violated. Absolutely not. Poor kid's not been doing alright for a long time. It's knowing... I don't know how to say this. I enjoy it though. I enjoy the way that it's good. I'm saying it. I'm having a good time. And this like descent into paranoia and uncertainty is pretty well written. How long would I have to keep on living like this? Could only grit my teeth and bear with it as this living hell slowly gnawed away at me. Keiichi, come on, it's club time. The sound of Reina's voice brought me back to my senses. Come on, Keiichi, stop spacing out. Bring your desk. Everyone was moving their desk together as usual. That's right, it was happy fun club time, but I had no intention of taking part. I haphazardly stuffed the contents of my desk into my bag as I prepared to go home. It was a weak-handed gesture to avoid having to actually say, I'll be going home now. What's this, Keiichi? You planning on going home right away again? Emil sounded quite disappointed. I'm just not in the mood. Could you just let me be for a while? The tone of the words that spilled from my mouth matched Emil's disapproving glare. It felt like the air in the room had dried out. Sturka looked like she was about to say something, but perhaps persuaded by the mood, she swallowed her words and stayed silent. Nobody said a thing. Took that to mean I could leave if I wanted, but the collective gaze of the four of them, like the tiny pins used to mount an insect on display, held me in place. Reina was the one who cut through the heavy mood. Keiichi, you just didn't like playing with girls, I guess? She said it in such a melancholic tone that it sent a wave of pain racing through my heart. This pain was going to kill me. I wanted to be the soft part of me that could still feel pain. I tore up my chest violently, tearing out the pins that held me in place. It's not it at all. I'd only be hurting myself by saying anything more, so I swallowed my words. Cutting things off there, I turned away and exited the classroom. Didn't speak a word to me as I left. Everything is bad. It was a long, dull trip back home, but I didn't lose focus. Firmly squeezed the grip of the bat, which was already soggy from sweat. Realising that, I wiped it down with my sleeve. If something were to happen, I wouldn't want it to be slippery. Since this morning, I've become especially sensitive to the presence of cars. Even while walking, my ears pricked up and sought out threatening sounds and presences that could be closing in. That was why I could hear it. Without a doubt. It's coming, guys. It's coming. My absolute favourite thing about this, I want you guys all to know. When I read this in the manga, this scared me. Up until now, and when I think about it every so often, and it really scares me. Without a doubt, there were footsteps. Those footsteps had matched up perfectly with mine for a while now. From what I could sense, it was just one person, but I had no intention of being careless. Did they intend to follow me like that car this morning until we were in a good location to assault me? Then it wasn't a good idea to keep walking like this. Stop walking and look back. Would a path crowded with trees responded with silence, as if there was nobody there to begin with. But I wouldn't be fooled. I was certain footsteps were following me. And just as I stopped, the footsteps stopped as well. Meaning the person following me wanted to keep their distance. That was, without question, proof that I was their target. I held my breath, waiting for that presence to panic and start moving again. Trees rustled with the sound of the wind. The Higurashi also joined in the dissonant chords, trying to throw my focus into disarray. Had 5 minutes passed, or had I been like this for a whole 30 minutes? So hard to breathe that I might have suffocated. Soon I'd be the first one to panic. Without doubt, he was lurking in the shade of that tree with bated breath. Then I'd make the first move, fix my grip on the bat, or raise it up to my shoulder to be ready to swing at any time. Hey, I know you're there! With all my might, I screamed at whoever was hiding in the shade of the trees. But the presence in the shade didn't budge. Until the moment I found them, they had no intention of revealing themselves. I know already! I know you're there! I screamed out angrily at them again, but even still they didn't move at all. Then I go over there myself. With all due vigilance I approached step by step. Stepping into the tree shadow, I saw a human figure there. The figure was curled up like a small animal. Reina! When she realised I'd found her, her expression softened. She seemed apologetic, but wasn't going to speak a word. Did you have some business with me? I wouldn't expect that silence, screamed the question at her. Not really. It's just, Reina was in a panic with tears welling up in her eyes, but it was obvious she'd been following me. What about the club? Since I'm not... That shouldn't matter. Don't mind me and just play. But I'm just worried about you. Think about how I've been acting up until now. It wasn't hard to imagine that my behaviour could have been perceived as strange. Serena was concerned. At a quick glance, that's how it would seem. But I wasn't going to let my guard down that easily. Even if that was really the case, she still wouldn't have to do something like try to tail me. Should have called out to me when I was leaving and gone out right with me. But Reina didn't do that. She kept a distance from me and matched my walking speed. On top of that, she matched the sound of her footsteps and deviously trying to hide her presence from me. Then after she realised I knew she was there, she held her breath as she tried hiding from me. She wore a timid expression that would force one to take pity on her. Without a doubt, she was tailing me. Stop following me. Howl. Still glaring at Raina, I continued walking onwards. After I'd walked for a bit, she ignored my command and began walking again, so I yelled at her once more. I told you not to follow me. But my house is in the same direction. Walk ahead of me. I'll start walking once I can't see you anymore. I moved out of the way and moved my back violently to urge her forward. I'd like to go home together with you. Making a pitiful expression, she meekly squeaked out the words in a voice that she knew would cut into my heart, but agitated me to no end. I knew it was a lie. If you wanted to go home together, you should have called out to me. Now you're just blurting out random lies. I'm sorry. Seeing the seething anger in me was written all over my face. Even without me saying anything, Raina had understood what I was feeling inside. If you get it, then go. I swung the bat, urging her again to walk. Raina looked back and forth between me and the bat and started walking hesitantly, then stopped again. Go on then, hurry. I'm going, so please stop with the bat. It's scary. Raina guarded herself while pointing at me holding the bat. She may realize I wasn't planning on using the bat for baseball. Lowered the bat, but still guardedly opened the way for her. Go. There's no problem now, is there? There was nothing else she could protest. She passed by me timidly so as not to set me off. As I watched her pass by, she stopped completely after having barely moved at all. Hey, don't stop. That sound made me jump. Then a powerful gust blew past us, barraging my face with dust. Dust got into my eyes and clouded my vision. Rubbing myself with my left hand, I swung blindly with my bat in my right, protecting the small opening I'd presented. But Raina didn't even try to attack during that opening. Attack me? No, she hadn't budged an inch. I could tell from the sound of her fluttering skirt in the wind. As the skirt settled, so did the silence. That moment, the voice inside me immediately warned me of impending danger. I was caught by surprise. The smell of the air had changed. Without me realising it, the air around me suddenly felt like a calamity was about to befall me. It was like the air had suddenly become visible concrete, like Raina and I were locked in this space. Raina didn't move an inch. Also unable to move, I stared at her back. Raina was the first to break the silence. Instantly she altered her stance. Felt like I just witnessed a shift from Raina into the other person who looked like Raina, but the voice was one I knew well, which filled me with a kind of bewildering pity. Carelessly, I felt relief upon hearing that pitiful voice. Well, excuse me, but can I ask you something? Too shy to even turn around, Raina squeezed her voice out desperately, as she trembled. What? Well, why do you have a bat, I wonder? The question Raina asked was by no means unexpected. I can carry whatever I want. But you didn't have one up until today. Why so suddenly? It's right if I decide to do something suddenly, isn't it? Is it strange that I have a bat? Because, Keiichi, you're not the kind of person to play baseball. It's weird. Couldn't tell what kind of answer she was looking for, and I was getting tired of answering her. I just suddenly got the urge to play baseball. Is that so weird? It's weird. She answered instantly, and that annoyed me slightly. I just suddenly wanted to play baseball, and I wanted to practice my swing, so I'm carrying around a bat. What's strange about that? Strange. Weird. Definitely. Why is Keiichi also... Ramblings were annoying me. Is it that strange for me to have an interest in sports? I tried to sound a bit more threatening to end the conversation. Till my suspicions about Raina were cleared, I had no obligation to answer her questions. I'm sorry. I get so angry. Raina still didn't turn around to spat out words of apology one after the next. Just one last thing. Tell me one last thing. I don't feel like talking anymore. Hurry up and go. I yelled loudly at her, causing her to flinch like she'd been struck. Seeing her in such a pathetic state caused my heart to ache sorely, but even though she was afraid, she certainly kept herself from moving. Before I was able to threaten her again, Raina asked her final question. Why is the bat the same too? What did she mean by the bat was the same? I had no idea what she was talking about. What are you saying? I mean, why is even the bat the same? I don't understand what you mean at all. Say it clearly. Even still, Raina didn't turn around. After inhaling deeply, she screamed. I mean, why is even the bat the same as Satoshi's? Satoshi being... Huh? Upon hearing that name out of the blue, I became dumbfounded for a brief moment. By Satoshi, did she mean the student who transferred out last year? No, that couldn't be. Raina tried to cover up by saying he transferred, but Mr. Oishi told me quite clearly that he was missing. He was a student who sat at my seat up until last year. He is believed to have been demoned away by Oyashiro-sama's curse. I didn't know the details about his disappearance. Aunt he lived with was killed the night of the Watanagashi by a drug addict. Not long after that, he suddenly vanished and now was missing. That Satoshi and I were... what? My gaze fell to the bat in my hands. Could it be... Satoshi Hojo? Mm-hmm. I was wrong, by the way. This isn't the scene that scared me. Although, I think it could be. It was a bit difficult to see, but that was what was written on the white tape at the end of the bat. I see. So this was Satoshi's bat. Oh, this was Satoshi's bat. Since nobody was using it, I borrowed it. That's not a problem, is it? That's not it! The way Reina said that made it seem like this bat was something that should never be touched. Like it was some sort of offering at a shrine or a memento of the deceased. I could only stand there, perplexed and unable to respond. Reina continued speaking without waiting for a reply. Why is it that you're doing the exact same thing Satoshi did when it happened to him? Reina was talking about more than just the bat belonging to Satoshi. It's the same with Satoshi. He joined a baseball team, but he didn't really like baseball. What does that have to do with me? Satoshi also suddenly started walking around with the bat one day, joined a team, but he wasn't the type to play sports. What about it? I closed my mouth before I could say that out loud. Listen carefully, Keiichi. Reina was trying to tell us something important. Satoshi also one day came to school all by himself all of a sudden, just like Keiichi. Then one day he suddenly started practicing a swing, just like Keiichi. Then one day he suddenly began carrying a bat around with him, just like Keiichi. Then one day he suddenly... Suddenly what? Reina had swallowed her words. Reina's sudden silence brought a hush back to the surrounding area. It was then that I could finally digest the content of the entire conversation. She was saying my chain of actions was exactly the same as Satoshi's. What was the meaning of this? Up until now, I'd forgotten all about Satoshi. Never paid much thought to him in the first place. Not only that, I didn't even know anything of what he'd done. Actions Day should have been my own creation after all the planning I'd done. But they'd been the exact same as Satoshi's? More importantly, both Satoshi and I acted the same, and there was a really good possibility that what happened after would be the same. Reina, that day, what happened to Satoshi? Reina knew. She knew what became of Satoshi. No, forget about what happened to a guy in the past. Reina knew what was going to hiccup to me. Answer me, Reina. Satoshi, what happened to him? With that, I grabbed Reina's shoulder violently and forcibly turned her around to face me. As I faced her, I felt a jolt travel through my entire body. I told you, Keiichi was that person that I didn't know. At least it definitely wasn't the Reina Ryugo I'd been talking to up until now. Voice just now didn't have a trace of the trembling or emotion that it had before. The amount of regret I felt for turning her around so carelessly was unsurpassed. Gaze that pierced like a cold needle, a smile on a face that invoked the image of having been carved out by a knife. Chills went down my spine. My mind froze under a layer of rime. Both of Reina's eyes pierced through mine, leaving me unable to look away, save to remind me of the fear from that time before. Reina brought her face close to mine so that I could feel her breath. Face that filled my entire field of vision. Then her sharply shaped lips grew even sharper, like the curve of a crescent moon. She grinned. I told you, Keiichi. After a short press, Reina repeated the same words again. Satoshi, you see, transferred out. Transferred meaning what? What made it went has been some new definition of transfer that I was previously not aware of. My throat and lips dried up. I couldn't even acknowledge what I'd just heard. All I could do was swallow down my own saliva. It seemed that Reina saw that as a nod. She pulled her gaze back and spryly stepped back 2-3 paces. As she did, my legs gave out and I fell to my knees pathetically. Reina, and me on my knees underneath her emotionless smile, had to be a very odd sight indeed. Seeing me in that pathetic state, she neither scoffed at me nor held out her hand. But I could neither stand nor escape with a gaze shooting through my eyes. It was undoubtedly a metal bat in my hand, but right now it was useless to me. I was like a fly caught in her web. Heavy sweat beaded all over my body. I could feel it dripping from my skin. But you won't, will you, Keiichi? Reina finally released me from that cage of time after what felt like an eternity. But her question was missing something important that was incredibly vague. Once again I swallowed hard, urging her on. Do what? What does she not want me to do? Transfer. Shivers running down my spine. Wee-hee-hee. Satoshi and I had... what? All my well-planned actions throughout the day turned out to have been nothing more than a reenactment of what Satoshi had done. Satoshi, had he really been in the same situation as I was now? Friends he'd gotten along with had changed suddenly and for no reason, at least none that I had noticed, planned to kill him? Then, fearing for his life as I am, he got a bat to protect himself and carried it around every day to practice his swing. Then one day, suddenly, he'd transferred. My body went cold, causing a prickling sensation to course through my veins. Starting near my heart, it radiated outwards from the top of my head to the soles of my feet, chilling every part of me without recourse. What did she mean by transfer? What did she mean by transfer? Was Satoshi still at wherever he was transferred to? Was he the one who would be able to understand me? Would he be able to tell me why it all ended up like this? More importantly, where did he transfer to? What did she mean by transfer? What did she mean by transfer? Before I knew it, I was at my front door. Frigid knob was hard to turn. Was nobody home? Wasn't that odd enough occurrence? I reached into my pocket and pulled out a single key attached to my first seal keychain. I stepped into the entryway. Just as I was about to take off my shoes, a chill ran down my spine. Someone had entered right behind me. Here it is, bees! Like a classmate messing around, standing right up against my back. Kidding, right? Had to be my imagination. Logically speaking, it was impossible for someone to be able to hide their presence within my personal space all the way through the door. There was undoubtedly someone behind me. Hey now, Keiichi. How do you know they're there, even though they're behind you? Because I could hear the sound of flowing hair. There's no other reason I'd hear that sound. That was the presence. Because I could hear the sound of them blinking. Keiichi Maebara, there's no way you could hear that. It's mostly instinct than anything else that was warning me of that presence. Common sense was telling me it was just my imagination. You guys can't see this because I don't have face cam on, but approximately every 30 seconds I am looking over my shoulder, because my desk is in like a corner of my room, and I am easily scared. It was just my imagination. There was nobody behind me. I began to erase a mental image of an eerie figure standing behind me, but at the same time I asked myself, if there was nobody, then what was I feeling? An uncomfortable sensation crawled up my spine. Actually, wouldn't it be better if there was somebody there? There was nobody there when you turned around. Would you be able to accept that? Be able to answer all those questions just by looking behind me? But I didn't have enough courage to even do that simple task. Right, I could try speaking to them. The person behind me might answer me. It was a random thought. I didn't care how I went about it, just as long as I didn't have to turn around. If I'd calmed down and thought about it, I would have known that wouldn't have solved anything. Who is it? I spoke in such a hoarse, broken voice that I couldn't believe it was my own. Could almost feel them contemplating their response. Felt it. There's no way I should be able to do that. Calm down, Keiichi. It's all in your head. That time, I was certain I heard it. As if hesitantly trying to answer my inquiry. I was certain that I could hear the sound of somebody inhaling. I heard it. I heard it clearly. It was a girl. A young girl. I didn't know who, but a tiny speck of courage in me, however reckless it was, inspired a primal yet fitting solution to this current predicament. A scream. All the force of my body released from my lungs and through my throat, ceasing all thought processes in my head. Suppressing all my thoughts and emotions, I began to collapse like a house of cards, somehow managing to twist my body and look back as I did so. It was definitely there. Right there. Somebody was there. Until the moment I turned around, until I brought the area behind me into my field of vision, they were definitely there. Falling face up, my eyes traced the remnants of the presence suspended in the empty space. Couldn't be. They're invisible. They looked like they weren't there, but they were actually still standing there? As I screamed, all the emotion I was holding back burst free in a violent wave. However, I was decidedly calm as my emotional dam collapsed. A turbulent wave of pent-up emotions was skillfully diverted into a torrent of aggression. The emotion was definitely required to extricate myself from a bizarre situation happening right in front of me. My state of heightened lucidity, I entrusted my body to the fury. Metal bat held firm in her right hand as if drawn there by a magnet. Mid-level sweep would be the hardest attack to dodge. I remember hearing something like that from a book about swordsmanship or something. Rah! I brandished my will to fight. After a minute, that amalgamation of metal flashes swung from left to right, beating me against the entryway. Bat slammed into the right wall, tip rebounding violently. Very calmly, I transferred the force of the rebound into a sweep to the left. Door off the shoe cupboard was split into pieces. Two swings whiffed through empty space, but they seemed to have great psychological impact on the enemy. Could feel the panic emanating from that space. Tag wasn't the only thing required. I extracted the bat from the cupboard it was embedded in and screamed as I spun my entire body round in a large arc. Wah! The scream shook the air, imbuing my ferocious swing with even more destructive power. Crack! Without mercy or restraint, my violent stroke, with certainly fatal force behind it, shattered the top of the cupboard. None of my attacks struck the enemy, but my frosty had certainly seemed to impact them. Breathing heavily, my entire body soaked in sweat, the invisible enemy, but not there, dispersed. When I was certain the enemy had retreated, I locked the front door and latched the chain. No way, had it only feigned retreat and was now inside my house? Once again I channeled my aggression and searched the house for the presence, but it was gone. I'd succeeded in fending it off. That moment, the tension drained my body and I let out a deep sigh of relief. All of the emotions I'd been holding back chaotically merged together and began to flood out. A hodgepodge of fear, accomplishment, and disbelief all mixed together and began to flow through my body. I know. I'm trying to think about, like, what would happen if it was me in that situation. and I would know for a fact I have absolutely no way to explain that. I'd just be boned. Unable to deal with each individual feeling, I beat them all back with the strongest, exhaustion. Even in this moment, I remained composed. After checking all the doors throughout the house were locked, I went up to my room on the second floor and closed the curtains, straightened my back and tilted my head back a little. After clearing my mind of all my idle thoughts, I managed to calm down even more. What was that at the front door? It was definitely something there. Thinking about it, maybe it was just an apparition I dreamt up in my confused state, but I really didn't think that was the case. Calm down, Keiichi Maebara. Compose yourself. Something like that? I feel like, to be honest with me, the most likely excuse would be I fell into it. Because that's something I do quite easily. No matter how calmly I thought about it, what just happened wasn't a figment of my imagination. It was obviously a supernatural phenomenon. Without a doubt, something was behind me. It wasn't some sort of illusion I saw amidst my confusion and disorientation. Proof? I had just one piece. When I asked who was it, they inhaled as if they were about to answer. That sound had clearly reached my ears. The situation I was in right now was still unclear. Either I'd been possessed by the supernatural phenomenon known as Oyashiro-sama's curse, or this was a ruse by the villagers who believed in it and were imitating it. Either way, the motives were unclear. Roundabout way it had been done was also still a mystery. If it was perpetrated by humans, that would mean admitting that it was Reina and the rest of them doing it, but it would be solvable. Mr. Oishi and the rest of the police would surely arrest my enemy. But if it was a manifestation of Oyashiro-sama's curse, I wonder what would happen. Mr. Oishi very clearly declared that curses didn't exist. At that time, those words were pretty dependable, but as things were now, with the rising possibility the perpetrators were not human, suddenly seemed quite unreliable. If I told Mr. Oishi this was the work of Oyashiro-sama's curse, what would happen? I couldn't imagine his reaction, but it would go without question a void would expand rapidly between myself and Mr. Oishi. With me having so few hands to begin with, and not being able to confidently declare whether or not this was a curse or not, there was no merit to doing that. Better keep the facts of what just happened at the doorway to myself. Be better if I didn't add what happened here to the moment behind the clock. There was still the ever so slight possibility. It was actually confused when I thought it was composed, and was just going berserk in the entryway. How wonderful would that be if that was really what happened? Be able to refute Oyashiro-sama's curse. But if I denied Oyashiro-sama's curse, and that would mean admitting that Reina and the rest were the perpetrators. If I said that Reina and the rest weren't the perpetrators, that would mean believing on Oyashiro-sama's curse. Yes, we've gone over this several times. By denying both of those, admitting that I myself was losing it. Then three options from which I couldn't choose became a trilemma of sorts. It's a good phrase, trilemma, I like that. Mixed together and formed a whirlpool in my head, making my head spin. Once again, I straightened myself and leaned my head back slightly to calm myself down. Calm down, Keiichi. Accept what has actually happened as reality. Stop thinking of anything more than that. But I couldn't help but think of it. How wonderful it would be if it turned out I was delirious and everything up until now was a figment of my imagination. Oyashiro-sama's curse wouldn't exist, and I'd still be the bestest buddies with Reina and the rest. It would have to be crazy. That was the first time in my life I'd ever wished for such a thing. Over my headphones I can hear my upstairs neighbours thumping about, and it's really unnerving me. It's just like their normal thumping, but... Phone rang noisily downstairs. Generally there were no calls for me, so I never really answered the phone much. But since my parents weren't here, I had no choice. Squirmed off the bed and went downstairs. Hello, this is Maebara residence. Keiichi, this is Mum. I intuitively have a bad feeling about this. It's because I thought she was going to ask me to go out and buy some things. So I took the initiative. What? I don't mind having instant noodles for dinner. There's still a lot of them. Other day we went out as a family and bought a whole case of cup noodles. Wanted to get a bunch of different kinds actually, but they refused since the individual packs were expensive. So instead, I got a whole case of the mega-sized pork and bone ginger flavoured ones I liked. My parents don't like strong flavours and didn't touch any of them, so the cupboards were still full of them. So you see, there really doesn't need to go shopping, right? Keiichi, I'm not asking you to go shopping. Mum and Dad have to go to Tokyo right now because of work. Huh? Right now? This was really abrupt. No, we're already here. We left this afternoon. It's quite a distance to Tokyo from Hanamizawa. Gunning at full speed down the highway would still take 6 hours. Dad has a license, but he doesn't like the highway. They likely took the train. It would have taken longer. Thinking you might understand since you heard us speaking last night, but it has to do with Dad's contract. Right now, things aren't going so smoothly. Now that you mentioned it, I did remember that they talked all that time about how his job prospects weren't looking so good. Dad is really sensitive about things like this, so if we leave things as they are, it will affect his work. Part of my father's particular fragile artistic personality, his emotions change as easily as the full sky. You could also just say you couldn't take criticism. Something like that can be done over the phone. Okay guys, so the noise I can hear is the rain outside and also my upstairs neighbour thumping. I know, our parents are gone, which means that we have to exist in this spooky house by ourselves, which is one of my worst nightmares. I hate staying in my parents' house by myself. It freaks me out so much, because, like, my flat is 4 rooms and a hallway, and, like, it's quite small. My parents' house is by no means big, because it's in London, but it's big enough that it really freaks me out being there by myself. Keiichi, this is your father's job, so can you support him a bit, please? Anyway, it's just faster to talk about it in person, so there wouldn't be any misunderstandings. So I found there was nothing more I could say once they started talking about work. So we'll be back tomorrow night. Keiichi, will you be fine on your own? It's not like I'll die or anything. Keiichi, you shouldn't speak so lightly of dying. If there's something troubling you, just talk to us. I believe Mum will be able to help out. Yesterday I did bring up if I died rather abruptly. So I suppose they were a little worried. Really, I was more depressed by the fact that nothing would be solved by telling them. But I didn't plan on dying. At least not while I still knew nothing. I would never allow it. I won't die. I won't. I'll survive even if I have to gnaw my leg off. Yeah, see you then. Tomorrow morning, make sure to wake up and eat your breakfast. And don't forget to take a bath and brush your teeth. Yeah, see you. Call ended like that. Sometimes my parents went off to Tokyo for business meetings, but Tokyo was far away. Normally did things by phone. Times they did go were normally planned out in advance. It never happened this suddenly. Couldn't say those circumstances didn't feel strange or rather unnatural. Anyway, I only needed to recognise the reality of the situation. That tonight, I was the only one in the house. That when my parents came back from work, I'd be gone. Missing. Vanished. Looking back on the series of events of the previous 5 years involving Oyashiro-san's curse, it wouldn't seem that strange at all. Come to think of it, it was getting pretty late. Didn't think it was good that the only light on the whole house was from my room on the 2nd floor. It was the same as broadcasting to enemy that my parents were gone, and this was their chance. First I ran to the living room, flicked on the lights and turned on the TV to a reassuring volume. Next was the study. I simply turned on the lights and some music. This, from the outside, it would look like my parents were here. Once again, I went through the house, checking to see if there was anything left unlocked. When I saw the veranda and the laundry still hanging out there, I went pale. That would have made it too obvious. Need to take it down. Snapped down the laundry haphazardly and erased all traces that my mother wasn't there. Should be fine now. Ah, the garage! They hadn't gone all the way to Tokyo by car, but they'd gone up to Okonomiya Station. The garage was empty, wide open, in plain sight. This is not good. Panicked and rushed out the back to close the normally open garage door. Should be fine now. Ah, I need to get the paper. Mum always got the paper, since they left in the afternoon. Evening paper was still out there. My premonition was correct. Pulled out everything from the mailbox and dropped it in the entryway. This, for sure this time, it should be fine. Come to think of it, leaving the cupboard bust like that for my little freak out was kind of bad. Just say I tripped and fell and the bat I was holding smashed into it. Lynn, you literally predicted it. Even so, just leaving its current state wasn't good. Should clean it up a little before Mum got back and scolded me. Remember that was a room and dustpan in the closet. I was going to get them, the phone rang once again. Hello, this is Maibara residence. Oh, is this Keiichi? Is your mother around? Ah, she isn't here at the moment. Idiot Keiichi Maibara. Don't reveal that your parents are gone. Can follow up still. Calm down and take care of it. I think she'll be back soon. Wasn't a good response either. Now they might say they'll call again or to tell her to call them when she comes back. Then that's fine. It wasn't anything important. Well then, sorry for the bother. Scenario I feared didn't play out, listing a sigh of relief. Call was fortunate in more ways than one. I'd have to deal with more telephone calls coming in from my parents tonight. Somehow able to deal with a phone call just now, but I couldn't continue to rely on such poor improvisation. Needed to make up a good story to explain that my parents were home, but couldn't answer the phone at the moment. Making temper and couldn't step away right now wasn't good enough. They were sick and went to bed because they weren't feeling well. Is that going to be safe enough? I was thinking about it on the way back to my room when the phone rang once again. It's like they were calling because they knew I was going to lie. Didn't want to pick up, but I knew I had to. Suspect my parents weren't here. Should have just taken the phone off the hook under the pretense I didn't realise that it was. Since the phone rang, I had to pick it up. Heard myself and lifted up the receiver. Hello? Stopped announcing this is Maibara residence. I had no reason to be kind to someone I didn't know the identity of. Unlike my uncouth voice, the person on the other side sounded goofy and light-hearted. Hello, my apologies for calling so late. This is Mr. Oishi from the Okonomiya bookstore. Mr. Oishi? Is that you, Mr. Maibara? Good evening. Good to hear that you're doing well. Wait just a moment, please. Give me 2 seconds, guys. I just have to do a thing quickly. Sorry, I had to alt-tab super quickly. I grabbed the portable handset and rushed up to my room with it. It was the same no matter where I was since there was no one else home, but I wanted to be a spot that felt just a bit safer when speaking on the phone with Mr. Oishi. Sorry for the wait. How are things? Anything changed since then? Since then, when was that exactly? Something about the brazen way he talked that rubbed me the wrong way. Well, last time I spoke with Mr. Oishi was 2 days ago. The day I stayed home from school. I met Mr. Oishi on the way back from the hospital. We headed into town for lunch and had a talk. After that, Reina and Mion came to check up on me. Whenever I spoke with Mr. Oishi, they always knew about it. It's like that since the first time I met him. Today's phone call may well be found out by them as well. Hello? Can you hear me, Mr. Maebara? Huh? Sorry. What did you say? Asked if anything changed since last time. There wasn't an answer, so I got a bit worried. Not really. What stopped in my throat? There's a ton of stuff that happened. All of it baffling. What should I talk about? I didn't understand any of it, but I should try asking. If I didn't ask now, I may never have another chance. Tonight, when my parents went home, I had no guarantees I'd make it through the night safely after all. Well, Mr. Oishi, it seems that someone is after me. Really? Could all just be coincidence, but that day in school when I was sick, the two of them came to check up on me. Which two? Reina and Mion. They started asking about how I had lunch with you. What next? They left me some mochi when they came to visit, but there was a needle inside. Fortunately, I somehow didn't swallow it. I wonder, could that have just been a threat? About the needle. It was just one of those common sewing needles you see all the time. There was a hole to thread string through. Not that, Mr. Maebara. The needle itself. That's evidence. Could be used as proof that they threaten you. Where is that needle? That's right. That's it. Dropped the receiver and rushed downstairs. When I tossed the mochi, I'd overlooked it out of terror, but that needle was a valuable piece of evidence. Certainly throwing the mochi needle at the wall together. If it was there, then it would be on the living room wall. That's fair. I'm just, like, moving out of the habit. My prudent mother had cleaned that living room wall, and there was not a trace of mochi left on it. Could it be that it dropped in the gap between the wall and the carpet? Frantically searched by running my palm along the carpet, but nothing turned up. Tried moving around the sofa and desk, pulling up the carpet, then flapping it around, but I couldn't find the needle. Did my mum clean up everything without noticing it? It was just 2 days ago. Didn't know what day they collected the burnable trash, but it may still be in the trash bin in the kitchen. Rushed into the kitchen, opening up the lid of the pail, and poured out the contents. Even at a glance, I could tell it would be incredibly difficult to find the needle in this pile of trash. Looking for a needle in a trash stack. Me too. Tried running my hand through it. It was a bit gross, but I was looking for a needle. Felt a small prick. I'd be able to find it. Pretty tactless method, but it was the quickest. Held my breath and started striking at the pile of trash with my hand. Filth flew about. There was nothing more disgusting than this, but it was not the time to be concerned about such details. Continued on for a while, but nothing turned up. Wanted to search more thoroughly, but I was still on the phone. Shouldn't keep Mr. Oishi waiting for too long. Later, when Mum got back, I'd have to ask her if there was a needle. Hasty began scribbling on the notepad affixed to the refrigerator with a magnet. Was there a needle? I scrawled the words with a red pen, and then dashed back upstairs, where I'd been keeping Mr. Oishi waiting for far too long. Hello? How did it go? I couldn't find it. Was really overwhelmed back then, and I see. It would be great if you could find it. Keep it safe. That's right, the needle wasn't the only incident. I had to tell him about this morning with the hit and run. Also, Mr. Oishi, that isn't all. Actually, this morning, that van was definitely aiming for me. I could say that without question due to the circumstances at that time. Yeah, that's fair. I understand, like, the emotion they're trying to convey. I have not done Japanese for a long ass time though, so I am not good at localizations. It's been studied Japanese since I was 16, so 8 odd years ago, nearly 9 actually. So I moved to study dead languages and forgot that modern languages existed. Did you see the license plate? I can search for it from here. Damn, just flipped out yelling at him back then, but I didn't look at the plate. What failures on my part with the needle and the plate number. So focused just protecting myself that I let some of the most important details slip out of my grasp. Punched my pillow, annoyed at how worthless I was. I'm sorry, I don't want much more than that it was a white bear. Nothing to fret about, Mr. Maebara. Anyone would be shaken after being hit. I guess all of this really isn't a coincidence, is it? Mr. Oishi started to hem in horror on the other end. Could imagine him folding his arms. Also, Reina is acting strange. How so? What Reina said on the way home today, asking why I so much like Satoshi. Now I could say it with confidence, that Reina knew what happened to Satoshi. She knew that there was more to it than him just simply disappearing. Reina knows. She knows something regarding what happened to Satoshi, the kid who was demoned away last year. What would that be exactly? Reina said I was the same as Satoshi, She said something to the effect that the way things are going, I'll end up with the same fate as Satoshi. Fate, you say? Exactly what kind of fate did she say will befall you? Transferring out, she said. Transferring out? Reina said Satoshi transferred out, so given how things are going with me, I'll transfer out too. Mr. Oishi let out a stern sigh and then grumbled loudly. Bara, that was probably some sort of threat, maybe some type of warning? I thought so too. At that point, I started to think. Would it be prudent to sum up everything that happened until now as the machinations of some human perpetrator? Other than the theory of it being Reina and the others, I was left with Oyashiro-sama's curse actually existing as the only other explanation, or the explanation that you are paranoid and need to stop. Of course, I couldn't tell that to Mr. Oishi, except Reina's strange behaviour could be proof of either scenario, whether it was Oyashiro-sama's curse being too real, or everything being part of a conspiracy committed by all the villagers. Reina was involved. Reina had to know something. Reina was suspicious. What exactly was Reina? I couldn't help but think she was somehow involved with the price during the mysterious deaths. Seemed to recall that Mr. Oishi had admitted that he had dug into Reina's past a little. Probably just downplaying it when he said a little, meaning he'd actually dug pretty deep, most likely. Wanted to hear about Reina. Wanted to know what happened at the previous school, amongst other things that were still unknown to me. If Reina was somebody I should suspect? No, not that. I wanted to know the truth. Tonight, I was alone in this huge house. Even though I said I couldn't count on them, I had lost the security I felt I had just by my parents being around. It wasn't like this house was some sort of fortress or castle. If a malicious person decided to use brute force, they'd easily gain entry. No other residence is close to the Maebara residence. No one would be able to hear anything, no matter how loud it was. I never felt such resentment towards my father's artistic temperament and the fact that he had this house built in such a remote location as I did right now. Ah, that doorbell noise scared me! Sorry, I accidentally skipped past the dialogue there. Wondered if I'd still be here by tomorrow morning. And so I had to ask, right now, because I had no idea when the next chance would come. Mr. Oishi, I have something I wanted to ask about. Please don't keep anything from me. Sure, ask away. Even though we're so far away on the other end of the line, this is the most reliable he'd ever felt. Wanted to ask about Reina, about what happened at a previous school. Actually, regarding Reina's... I noticed a sound that had been going on for a while now. Since I was so focused on the call, I hadn't paid attention to it at first, but I finally realised it was the doorbell. Time was 7 o'clock. It was past the time the postman would be making delivery and past any sensible time for a neighbour to be visiting. I considered just acting like nobody was home, but that wouldn't be good. That would ruin all the work I put in making it look like my parents were home. Needed to answer the door. Hello? Maebara? Ah, sorry, someone's to be at the door. I'm gonna go see who it is. A guest? I see, my apologies. Should you end this phone call now? That would be a problem. Ah, no, I'll be back in a second. Do you mind if I just leave the phone on? It's fine, I don't mind. Dropped the handset on my bed and dashed down to the door. Needed to make up a good excuse to get them to leave. Had a hunch it was a lady who called right before Mr. Oishi did. In which case it would be one of the neighbours who's friends with my mum. I'll just say mum wasn't feeling well, went to bed early. That would be the easiest option. Who could it be? It'd be hard for her to ask to wake my mum up if she's not feeling well. Bell continued to ring at regular intervals. Someone didn't answer if you rang the bell so much, you'd normally give up and go home, wouldn't you? Without removing the chain, I opened the door slightly and peered out at the visitor. Chill ran down my spine. I knew it. Somewhere deep inside, I prepared for this moment. Tried to escape by imagining it was the easiest person to deal with, one of my mum's friends. Hehehe. Good evening. Reina. Shouldn't be any reason for Reina to come over at this hour. Timing also made me feel uneasy, because it was just as I was about to ask Mr. Oishi about Reina. Wish I could have chalked this up to a mere coincidence, but those unsettling words from Mion several days ago echoed back to me. There's nothing this old man doesn't know. Keep looking over my shoulder just in case. I've got chills. Are you alone, Reina? Yeah. It seems that Mion wasn't with her, but that didn't change the situation at all. Why'd you come here? Hey, Keiichi, I'd like you to open the door so we can talk. Can I come inside, I wonder? It's true that speaking through a chain door wasn't the right way to talk to a classmate, but at my house the chain has to be on at night. Don't worry about it. Then it can't be helped, I guess. Reina pouted rather sadly. She kept smiling at least, and her effort to keep that smile up was quite pitiful. Even though she was tugging at my heartstrings, I didn't lower my guard. Long as I stayed like this, even if it made my heart ache, my life wasn't in danger. What I really feared, more than the possibility that hoodlums would assault me if I removed the chain, was trusting Reina enough to remove the chain and having my friendship betrayed. Long as the chain wasn't unmatched, even if it made my heart ache, I wouldn't have to deal with being betrayed by Reina. Since it didn't seem like I'd removed the chain from a silent urging, she appeared to drive up on trying to get into the entranceway. Have you eaten yet, Mr. Keiichi-kun? Jesus, and he said Mr. Keiichi there. No, I haven't eaten. Since Mum wasn't there, dinner wouldn't be ready no matter how long I waited. Laid down when I got home, was woken up by the phone, and didn't have a chance to eat since I used up all that time talking. Was going to have cup noodles in any case. Just eat one whenever I wanted one. No, not yet. What about it? Good. Look here. I brought a bunch of dishes. Raina had out a stack of boxes wrapped in a cloth. If I could use your kitchen, I could heat up the miso soup and other stuff. It's fine. You don't need to do that. But there's a lot of tofu and vegetables in it. Does Keiichi not like that type of stuff, I wonder? No way I wouldn't like that. I love miso soup with lots of ingredients. White radish, carrots, burdock root and potatoes, dense and fibrous root vegetables. Yeah, that miso soup looks incredible. Also put rice. If you microwave it, you can eat it really quickly. Without a doubt, rice needs miso soup. Stuffing rice down your gullet, slipping miso soup in between ravenous bites. Oh yes, how wonderful it is to be born Japanese. Also, I made some more pickles. I made sansai pickles this time. Before I'd moved to Hinamizawa, I scoffed at the mountain vegetables called sansai, but I was captivated by the charm the first time I tried them. Such a deep yet light flavour. Vegetables from the supermarket were tasteless and bland compared to these. I love how Keiichi can be like on the verge of massive panic, and then as soon as food's involved, he's like, hell yeah, boy! If you had to describe them, they were the vegetables for the uninitiated. To become an expert such as myself, you first had to partake of sansai. It was common knowledge around here that the Riga family traditional pickles were wonderfully delicious. No matter what kind of pickles they were, they'd go so well with that fluffy white rice. And also, but wait, there's more? So delicious. Just seems so delicious. Farewell to my unhealthy self who said he'd make do with cup noodles. Raina appeared to be in good spirits, and she was offering such a delicious sounding dinner. Stress evaporated from my gut, and hunger reared its ferocious head. At the same time, my wariness of Raina suddenly dwindled. Raina did say she was alone. Shouldn't be a problem letting her inside, though the possibility it was laced with poison still hadn't been ruled out. That moment, cold chill ran down my spine once again. I couldn't understand why such a sensation had occurred just then, but the voice inside me was sounding the alarm. Happy Raina speaking of this charming dinner was dependent on one premise. That premise was that tonight, dinner hadn't been made at my house, meaning it was under the assumption that my mum, who should be making it, wasn't here. In any normal household, 7 o'clock could be around the middle of dinner time. If Mum were here, she'd be eating dinner around this time as well. The fact that she brought over all the makings of a meal at this time was inherently strange. Unless she knew? Raina, did she know that my parents weren't home? There was also the chance this was a bluff. I turned on the lights and a bunch of other stuff to make it seem like my parents were here. There was a chance that Raina wasn't sure if my parents were home. But I had to wonder. Laundry, the garage, the evening paper. Plenty of signs of them being hastily tidied up. It was hard to say that Raina didn't have a chance to determine if my parents were here or not, but there was no reason for me to confess that right now. I should try holding on to that fact as long as I could. First of all, the chain was still attached. As long as I didn't take it off, Raina wouldn't be able to do anything to me. I'm quite grateful, but dinner will be ready pretty soon. Huh? Is that so? Is that so? I know you went through all the effort and everything, but well, unable to think of a good way to refuse, my words trailed off weakly. But some of this could work as side dishes, I think. I'm sorry, we have more than enough already. My mum always makes quite a few sides, so... Huh? You have side dishes? A smile that bordered on cringe, I dodged the questions apologetically, but the feeling I tried to ignore began creeping up my back again. I spoke as if my mum was setting down dinner right now, but it didn't mesh well with what Raina was saying. Raina was talking as if she was aware of some obvious fact, and that I was aware of it as well. So Keiichi can cook. What did you make, I wonder? No, well, it's not that Raina had assumed out of nowhere I'd made the dishes. Not so much I'd made them, but rather my mum hadn't. Did you really make them? The side dishes? Did you, Keiichi? It wasn't me who made them. My mum did. No, she's making them right now. So you see, I'm sorry, but I can't eat what you brought. Raina fell silent at that moment. That moment, I felt the light suddenly disappeared from her eyes. How about I try guessing what Keiichi's dinner will be? It doesn't matter what I'm going to eat. Let's see. Conversation might appear natural at first glance, but Raina was firmly in control. Felt like I was being interrogated. Your dinner, I wonder if that something can be made with just hot water? Hey now, stop with the insults. I can't believe you belittle my mum's extravagant dinner like that. Tickets sold out, full capacity already. It's that amazing. Tried my best to put on a strong front, but I couldn't grip my teeth quite right. Said I looked like someone who's borderline hysterical. But Raina showed no reaction whatsoever, even to that silliness. Keiichi, did your mother really leave you dinner? No, you see, she didn't leave me dinner. She's making it right now. It's almost time for dinner. I'm only taking that assertion of mine, that my mum was home and making dinner right now, was completely ignoring it. Till the more I panicked, the colder Raina became. Hey, Keiichi. That moment, an uncomfortable chill crept in from the gap in the doorway. Is your mom home, I wonder? I couldn't keep up this charade anymore. Raina, she knew full well my parents weren't home, but I'd come too far to admit that now. My parents were up here, and we'd having dinner soon. That was a situation Mike concocted, so I answered. Told her she was here. She's here, of course. I could feel the humidity drying out from the surrounding air. Raina's eyes were becoming even more frigid, piercing me with their gelid, odd choice of words stare. Don't like it. Why? What do you mean? I tried acting casual, but facade was torn off from me the instant I looked into Raina's eyes. Look, informed me of Raina's response faster than she could open her mouth. Why have you been lying to me, I wonder? I'm not lying. That's a lie, isn't it? It's not a lie. Lies! Raina's outburst sent a jolt surging through my body. Raina and I were still separated by what few inches that slightly ajar but still chained door could afford. Despite that, I was still being cornered. My house, which I considered a safe haven until now, had become more like a dark alleyway where no one could save me. Should I guess your dinner, Keiichi? Let's see. I knew now that Raina had already known my parents would not be here tonight. It was still so strange it had come to this. Even if she somehow knew that my parents weren't home, no way she'd be able to guess what I'd be eating tonight. Raina said she'd guess. How could she guess it? How could she know it was instant cup noodles? That's right, isn't it? That I was going to eat. Wait, the cooking repertoire of a man who can't do housework is probably nothing but cup noodles after all. Looking at this statistically, it was the most probable answer. Didn't mean she was guessing. I don't think you'll be full with just noodles. I think having rice and stuff will definitely hit the spot. Calm down, Keiichi. This is just coincidence. Raina was just reading certain tales of mine. The fact that she was inferring what I was thinking alarmed me. It wasn't if she was actually reading my mind. If it was being read, she was a demon. No, not a demon. Things like that. They couldn't possibly exist. Do you like them? Do you mean noodles? No. I don't understand. Raina indicated that the point my answer was addressing was wrong. Rebuttal was so short that I momently didn't understand the words Raina had spoken. Sorry, Raina, what did you say just now? Huh? About what? Just now, you asked if there was something that I liked, didn't you? It wasn't long before I regretted how carelessly I pushed forward with that question. Such a simple answer. That was why I wasn't able to comprehend it. Pork and bone ginger flavour. I wondered how I appeared in the moments my mind went completely blank until the moment I was able to recover. My field of view began to distort, slowly swelling in a counterclockwise direction. I lost all sense of balance. Why do you know that? I didn't even deny it. That was the type of frenzied state I was in. How could Raina know even this? Not even caring as I mashed my head against the door, I fixated my gaze on Raina. But, pardon me, goodness. It was very rude, I'm sorry. She didn't even flinch when she saw me do that. Certainly did buy them. I bought a bunch at once. I bought a whole case. How could you know that? Why, I wonder? Quite strange, isn't it? Isn't it? How could you dodge the question at a time like this? Chaining the door suddenly were no longer protecting me. How do you know? Why do you know? Answer me! You bought them at 7th Mart, didn't you? Shiver ran up my spine. Tried covering it up with an angry facade. Like I said, why do you know that? I was behind you, following you the whole time. What are you saying? Couldn't understand why she was saying she'd been following me all this time. It's because Raina was right behind your back the whole time. Like that night? Night I was absorbed in my phone conversation with Mr. Oishi. I didn't even sense her being there. Standing behind the door, behind me, standing there just like that. And Keiichi was picking out the noodles I was watching the entire time. You picked out so many different flavours, didn't you? Then your mom got angry. If you were going to pick the expensive ones, you should just pick one type, she said. Then Keiichi picked out that big box of pork bone and ginger flavour he loved so much, didn't he? I like it too, pork bone noodles, but I can never eat a whole big bowl myself. My brain was paralysed, dulling my senses. Might have been a defence mechanism to diminish the fear I was feeling to non-traumatising levels. With the fear being diminished, the fog enveloping my mind was cleared away. Then I could understand what Winnie was saying, and started to put meaning behind her words. Even so, my fear hadn't subsided completely. It was like I was standing at the edge of a cliff, eyes closed so I didn't have to look down. Didn't actually solve any of the basic problems. I slowly took a step backwards, and as I withdrew, Raina advanced. So, Keiichi, can you open this? We can eat dinner together. I'm sure it's going to be delicious, so, okay? Raina's pale, slender fingers squirmed through the crack in the door one at a time, as if they had a mind of their own, rattling the chain. Should I unlatch the chain from the door? A feeling of terror would have just exploded within me. But Raina didn't do that. She was simply imploring me to remove the chain. She was doing her hardest to light the fuse to the powder keg in my heart, trying again and again. Clatter, clatter. But it doesn't light. It doesn't light. Open up, Keiichi? Please go away. I beg you, please go away. How can you say something so mean, I wonder? Please, go away, go away! Go away! Powder keg inside me finally went off. No smouldering, it just exploded. I tackled the door. Forced the door, it knocked Raina momentarily off balance. Couldn't hesitate here. I grabbed onto the doorknob with both hands, planted my feet firmly, and pulled with all my might. That slamming sound I so desired didn't happen. I could feel a tiny disturbing bit of resistance. I hate it, I hate it, I hate it, I hate it, I hate it. And also, I hate it. I want everyone to be extremely understanding what's happening right now, which is that, I hate it. The source of that was Raina's fingers. Each of those fingers wriggling, squirming around like the tendrils of a carnivorous plant through the crack in the doorway. It hurts, Keiichi, it hurts. It wasn't a harsh shriek, but more of a yelp she was trying to keep back. Go away, go away, go away! I kept on pulling the door with all my might. I didn't even realise if I didn't loosen my pull on the door at least momentarily, Raina wouldn't be able to pull her fingers out, and that was why the door wasn't closing. It really hurts, Keiichi. I'm sorry if I was messing around too much. I didn't care one bit for her apology. No matter how much she apologised, it didn't change any of what she'd done up until now. It didn't change anything. It hurts, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. Go away, go away, go away! Raina couldn't leave even if she wanted to because I trapped her fingers. Raina's white fingers had become deep red and were no longer even squirming. I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. Go away, go away, go away. I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, I'm sorry. Raina's apologies were occasionally twisted with pain, but like a broken record, she was intent on repeating it over and over. Go away, go away, go away. Stop it, stop it, stop it. Pulled on the door even harder. Finally, Raina's fingers were somehow able to slip out from under their imprisonment in the doorway. The moment that happened, the door closed soundly and I could hear the thud of Raina falling on her butt the other side. I locked the door immediately. Made loud clunk, voicing my rejection to Raina. I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. Keiichi, I'm sorry. Open up, Keiichi. Raina leaned against the door, apologising profusely and nothing else. After confirming I was sufficiently sealed off from her, I trudged away from the entryway. On the other side, I could still hear Raina echoing her apology. I'm sorry, I'm sorry. Those pitiful words they'd be forever seeking my forgiveness. Oh my god! I just got the reference from the start of the chapter on the train. I just understood. I didn't feel bad about this at all. That wasn't out of any sort of malice. I just felt a sort of hazy sense of relief that I was able to escape from Raina. Before, Mion had threatened me at this doorway, saying there was nothing she didn't know. And just now at the same place, Raina told me the same thing. My feeble attempts to disguise the fact my parents went home and served no pearls from the start. I should have just pretended to be out and not ever even opened the door. My meagre plans hadn't helped at all. In Hananazawa, it was impossible to outwit them. Even though I was on the other side of the door, I wanted to get as far away from Raina as possible. 1 step, 2 steps. With each one, her snivelling apologies became more distant. I sprinted up the stairs and dove into my room. As you'd expect, I was finally no longer able to hear Raina endlessly repeating her apology. Diving into my bed, I was startled by the hard lump I felt. Something in my bed? It was the receiver. Finally remembered. I was in the middle of a self-call with Mr. Oishi. Looking at the clock, apparently not much time had passed since I went downstairs. Could it be that my clock had run out of batteries? Talked with Raina for so long. How did almost no time pass? But the hand on the clock was ticking forward 1 second every second as usual. As I put the still-warm receiver to my ear, time, which felt frozen, began moving again. Hello, Mr. Oishi? Sorry to keep you waiting. Not at all, I didn't wait that long. It became apparent the amount of time that passed between myself and Mr. Oishi was different. Over the phone I could hear an energetic voice from a sports program or something. Drove home just how far away Mr. Oishi really was. Raina came just now. Did she come to play? I wasn't confident I could coherently explain the situation to Mr. Oishi, but I didn't need to right now. Right now, I needed to know about Raina. That's right, I was planning to ask Mr. Oishi more about Raina, but their little visit had interrupted the conversation. What was true and what's false, I couldn't tell. The one thing I knew was a single grim reality that Raina was suspicious. Might be able to figure something out if I asked Mr. Oishi about her. Up until now, I'd regretted it whenever I forced myself to ask about things that was better off not knowing, but looking at it that way, I'd say I hit rock bottom. No possible way I could feel any more regret than I did right now. Rather, I wanted to know if there was anything beyond this I would regret more. Forget about tomorrow. It was not out of the realm of possibility for something to happen tonight. Want to know everything I could. absolutely not going to die like this. Not without knowing anything. I definitely won't. Regarding Reina Ryugu, I did a bit of digging. Well, it wasn't much. I understood that Mr. Oishi was talking in circles. A bit meant I dug so deep it hard to discuss with you since you're her friend. I want to know everything from your research. I don't think you'll be very interested in what I have to say though. Mr. Oishi? I spoke as calmly as possible to Mr. Oishi, who was continuing to avoid the issue. Then I said it. I think Reina is suspicious. Even if the past incidents were from Oyashiro-sama's curse, Reina is involved. Do you have some sort of proof that makes you believe Reina is suspicious? The manner in which Mr. Oishi spoke became very firm. Do you have some sort of proof? It was him talking as a detective. I only have circumstantial evidence. I see. Could tell even over the phone how disappointed Mr. Oishi was. Putting on the fishing line when he felt a bite, only to reel in the bait. Disappointed but ready to cast a line once more. That's how it seemed. Mr. Oishi, you can't do anything without physical proof, can you? What I meant was you can't come and save me without proof. Stuck that barb in there. As Mr. Oishi loved roundabout ways of saying things, he understood me just fine. It's fine, Maebara. I'll protect you. It was not the least bit reassuring. Mr. Oishi was just using me to continue his investigation. I was just going to get killed, and my corpse would be an important piece of evidence. That was all I was to him. Whether I'm alive or dead may be of no concern to your investigation, but it's all over for me when I die. Mr. Oishi went silent on the other end of the line. May have been too blunt, but I didn't care. All I needed to relate to Mr. Oishi was that I was currently in a very dangerous position. Please tell me. Tell me about Reina. Satoshi transferred out. Not too far in the future. I'll probably also do what Reina called transferring out as well, but you won't be able to find my corpse. You haven't even been able to find Satoshi's body yet. Alright, Mr. Maebara, please calm down. Already suppressing my agitation, even without Mr. Oishi having to tell me. Wouldn't solve anything if I continued to scream about my mistrust in the police. Seemed that I could only depend on myself and the bat Satoshi left behind to protect myself. Then I at least wanted to know about what happened before Reina transferred schools. You're aware that this won't be very interesting, right? Mr. Oishi, realizing my resolve couldn't be swayed, finally caved. Right now, to me, there is nothing I'll find uninteresting. Please. A few things I need you to agree to. Okay, please keep this confidential. Also, part of this may be speculation. Not all of it may be true. Are you still interested? It might not be true? I don't understand what you mean. There isn't one main investigation for the mysterious chain of deaths in Hinamizawa. Each one is treated as its own individual case. Thus, Reina has never been linked to any of the investigations. Basically, you see, this is an investigation of Reina done by police, and is a personal inquiry, is what you're telling me? This will make things a lot quicker since you understand. All of it is from either phone calls and meetings and interviews, so they aren't corroborated. I'm asking you to take this all with a grain of salt is what I mean. Do we have an agreement? All of it is just from what you've heard? Yes, my apologies. It's all my personal investigation, you see. The thing, before you said you saw Reina's chart, didn't you? I'm sure I heard you say that. Mr. Oichi paused for a moment on the other end of the line. Told you that too? Ha! Please pretend you didn't hear anything about that. Didn't care about Mr. Oishi having certain obligations and responsibilities. Also didn't care if there was no proof. Even if they were just rumours, there's no smoke without fire after all. Please, tell me, Mr. Oishi. Understood. Mr. Oishi finally opened those tight lips of his. Wink wonk. I'm hoping this chapter will end soon, because I'm really tired. I need to get going. It seemed that Reina lived in Hinamizawa a long time ago. She moved to Ibaraki Prefecture after she finished elementary school. Then, following that, right after transferring, the unfortunate incident with the breaking of the school windows happened. Then Reina confided to the doctor. It was Oyashiro-sama. This is all that he knew. I'm glad, because I'm really starting to flag. It isn't much difference between what I know and what you know, Mr. Maebara. Then what part did you investigate further? Didn't need to ask. It was the incident that happened just after she transferred. Incident Reina was responsible for, what she divulged to the doctor afterwards, correct? Yes. After you learned about that, you started suspecting Reina and the others, didn't you? Yes, I did suspect them. So they're the ones, after all? Ah, no, that's not what I meant by suspect them. Mr. Oishi was the type of person to say things with confidence, but these particular words were less than reassuring. Okay. Yeah, I think next week I'm gonna finish this chunk of game. Then who did you suspect? That it was Oyashiro-sama. Huh? That Oyashiro-sama's curse really exists? Well, right. Mr. Oishi's laugh was quite dry, certainly not the kind that would make you want to join in. Mr. Oishi resumed the conversation about the dubious circumstances behind Satoshi's disappearance, course of events until the start of delving into Reina's past. Just then, there was thunder in the distance and a heavy rain started pouring down. It came without warning, rain so heavy it felt like it could beat you down. I'd left the window in my room open a crack to let the heat out. The violent wind danced into my room, making the curtains flap wildly. What is it? Ah, nothing. It suddenly started raining heavily. Sorry, please continue. I got up while still on the phone and closed the window. I said at the beginning it was an incident, but because neither the school or victims filed charges, the police were never involved. So, you see, those involved were very reluctant to talk. Regardless of there being a victim who had one eye beaten so badly it had permanent damage. It could have been the school or possibly some individual who made arrangements to keep this from going public. Also, the psychologist was very strict about their professional ethics. Hello? Maebara? Can you hear me? There was the figure of a person standing by the light near the mailbox this whole time. Even in this torrential rain, they didn't have an umbrella. They were unquestionably drenched from head to toe. In the shower, which more resembled a waterfall, droplets of water dripped from their hair. They're standing there, both arms dangling at her side. One hand was a sack of boxes wrapped in cloth. Her eyes focused on my room, focused on me as I was about to close the window. Her mouth was methodically repeating a chewing motion, as if she had something hard to chew in her mouth, with her cheeks puffing out. What could she be eating over there? How could it be at this time I was more enthralled by Reina, instead of the shocking developments being brought to light by Mr. Oishi? If it hadn't started raining, I wouldn't have gone to the window. Then I wouldn't have noticed Reina, nor would I have noticed that. Reina's mouth was moving in the same pattern. She wasn't eating something. She was repeating something. What was it? Was she repeating to me? What was she saying? Why was I right up against the window fixated on her? Hello, Maebara? Can you hear me? Hello? I'm sorry. Huh? Maebara? I'm sorry. 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 Hello? Maebara? What's the matter? Even in this torrential downpour, Reina was still apologising. I had myself inside me, duly cut hastily with my right hand, blocking my view of the outside. But even doing that, Reina's relentless apologies still reached my ears. I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. If I forgive you for this, will you forgive me for that? Please stop, please stop, please stop, please stop. I'm sorry, 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 I'm sorry. Damn it! Why did I have to forgive her? I'm the one who wants to be forgiven. What part of me can't you forgive? I won't be killed. If you won't forgive me, then I won't forgive you either. I won't forgive, 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 won't forgive. I won't forgive. Maebara, if you can hear me, then please respond. Hello? Whew. Whew. Okay. Not creepy in the slightest. I mean, I would say same, but I think I'd just get really creeped out. Let's look at the new tips. I see it in movies quite often, but what is it exactly? Multiple personalities are thought to be escapism. Multiple personality disorder is a form of escape? Correct. The exact mechanism is not fully understood, but it's believed to be a type of defense for the brain to retain mental stability. Hypothetically, 4 people imagining themselves as wealthy is one form of escapism, is it not? Is this also a form of multiple personality disorder? Wouldn't go that far, but broadly speaking, one could infer that. Something that occurs in us all. Does a split personality occur when one cannot tell which is reality and which is the escape? That's difficult to say. There are some who agree with that and some who disagree. There is no consensus. Then is the occurrence of multiple personalities still an unknown phenomenon? Something not fully comprehended in the psychiatric field? Fortunately, that is the current state of things. We can only put our hopes in future research. But it's sort of cool having a split personality. What kind of people get split personalities? Recent studies find that those who develop it, or rather those who are more susceptible to developing it, may be genetically predisposed or may have had abnormal mental development. Some say that childhood abuse increases the chances. Speaking of which, Person A here experienced abuse as a child, didn't he? How sad. Person A has 7 different personalities. Let's watch a video of him. Right after these commercials. That noise, sound effect made me jump. I reported as a big ass. 7th Mart was a bargain supermarket with food and booze. What's this, Keiichi? So many. There's no reason to get all the different kinds, is there? Flopped all the different coloured cup noodle bowls in the cart. Cup noodles have gotten so elaborate recently. There are a bunch of different types. I want to try each of them at least once. I think it was pretty selfish of me, but I thought I'd at least give it a try. Keiichi. Buy them in the big case, it's cheaper. Dad faltered. Well, I had a feeling it'd end up like this. Dad knew there was no point in him butting in. Then I'd only get to eat one kind. And get bored with it. was resisting the formality. I'd already given up inside, I wasn't sure which case of noodles to get. If you can't pick, then Mum will pick for you. You don't have to rush me. Quickly search the case of noodles for what I want. Pork bone and ginger, large cup? Hey, Keiichi, can't you get a more normal one? I let Mum pick, she's down on the side of safety and get soy sauce or salt flavoured. Pork bone is good. I don't want a big bowl of tasteless stuff. I remembered insisting the noodles I picked were the right kind. In this frozen memory in time, this encapsulated world, I didn't have the power to look around in my surroundings. So I did what I could here. And sneezed. And reached out with my hearing and vision, sharpening my senses to find the presence I overlooked. No matter how much I searched through my field of vision, I couldn't see Reina, around the situation searching. Of course I couldn't find her. Then was she spying on me from my blind spot? I go through the sound of presences again, looking. I could sense the other customers. They were all mixed about, moving as they please. There was nobody looking over this way and no one trying to get behind me. Not here. Couldn't be here. Probably wasn't here. But definitely noticed if someone was right behind me, even when I wasn't on my guard. Smiled wryly at the thought of using a vague word like probably right before contradicting it with definitely. Then I paused my mental replay as a chill ran down my spine. There was definitely a presence, like a shadow behind me. That was a terror like any other. If the presence really had manifested behind me, would definitely have turned around to check for it. But the world had moved on and there was no way for me to turn around. While carrying that frightening shadow on my back, I was gleefully running around the store searching for a case of noodles. Running through the instant noodles section, bad-mouthing my mum. But there was that presence constantly in my back, sticking to me like a shadow. No way to see what it was. And realising it after the fact was horrifying and repulsive. That moment in time, I was running around gleefully, carrying that cardboard box. Tip-tap. But listening to that moment again, I could hear, here it is, guys. I could hear footsteps other than mine going pip-pat with every step. Tip-tap, 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 pip-pat, pip-pat, pip-pat. Tip-tap, tip-tap, pip-pat, pip-pat. Tip-tap, tip-tap, pip-pat, pip-pat. While I was running, the sound of those barefoot footsteps going pip-pat were right behind me. Me running around gleefully in that closed-off moment in time. But I didn't hear it. No, I heard it. That's why I remembered it. Didn't think I'd heard anything. That's why I didn't turn around. That's why I didn't turn around. That moment, the pip-pat of those footsteps were following me the entire time. Couldn't run faster and escape. Couldn't run any faster than I'd run at that time. Couldn't turn around. I hadn't turned around before, not once. Then I returned to my parents. I just turned around in my room and started talking. A shadow-like presence was right at my back. Since I didn't move, the shadow didn't move. That is why it made no sound. That was all. That time, I hadn't taken a single step while talking with my parents. I was just standing there. This was undeniable. And yet, I heard it. A pit-pat. It shouldn't be. If I took 3 steps, it followed 3 steps. Wasn't that the rule? There was no sound other than that. That time, the entire world had gone dark. A sudden darkness. It was the end of my reflective journey. I was tired. Wanted to end it. Someone turn on the light. Except my body couldn't move, as if I was sewn into that moment in time. Pip-pat. My past self's hair stood on end. It's impossible. Now that's just breaking the rules. I haven't moved, so you shouldn't be moving either. I couldn't move, so you shouldn't be able to move either. Follow the rules. Pip-pat. That sound echoed in the darkness once again. The hair on the back of my neck pricked up on end. So close that it was hard to tell whether it was touching the hair or not. Why couldn't I move, like how the presence was moving behind me? Quickly realised I could move. It's just that I was scared and didn't want to. But now was the only time I could turn around. It was something unforgivable in this moment in time, but I needed to turn around immediately. As if my entire being was trying to force me to stop, it began to administer a pain like a needle being stuck into every pore. I'll turn around. I'll turn around. I'm not scared at all. I'll turn around. I'll turn around. I'm not scared at all. A scream I was unable to vocalise. Rah! I turned around. First, I couldn't understand the meaning of it. What is this? The situation opened up my eyes. It was like a mouth biting an apple and slurping the juice, the way you do with an apple. My mind was being eaten. I began to munch down, slurping the juices, because it was like an apple. Meaning what was in front of me was... It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. Everything's fine. Don't worry about it. Everything is absolutely fine. I'm done. Scary, scary, scary. Man, thank you for watching, guys. I appreciate it. I hope you enjoyed my, terrified reading of this game. So, that third footstep was the thing from the manga I remembered most. And to this day, every so often I think about it and it scares the absolute shit out of me. The idea that you could be walking and stop, and then as you stop, you hear a third footstep behind you. I hate it a lot. I just want you to know. But anyway, folks, I'm going to end things here. So thank you so much for watching. I very much appreciate it, and I do hope that you enjoyed. And I hope you can sleep tonight, because I probably won't, because I'll be hiccuping too much. So, I will actually not be streaming this Saturday, because I'm going to be out with some friends. I probably should have changed that, but it's too late now, so oh well. However, on Sunday, I will be streaming Destiny 2, where we will be starting the Warmind DLC, which is exciting. I really like the lead into it, so I'm very excited to do it. Then on Tuesday, it will be Final Fantasy XIV, where we will be just hanging out. It's reset day, and we're just chilling. We're having a good time. Then next Thursday, we will be finishing off Higurashi When They Cry, Chapter 1, Onikakushi. Or Onikakushi, however you want to pronounce it. So yeah, thank you for watching, everyone. Have a wonderful evening, take care of yourself, and I will see you guys on Sunday.